to nil. Life is no thrill. It's worse than nil. So draw the right conclusion. Let them be still.
Welcome to episode number 89 of the Exploring Antinatalism Podcast, a podcast showcasing the wide range of perspectives and ideas throughout antinatalism as it exists today, through interviews with anti-natalist and non-antinatalist thinkers and creators of all kinds, now running 5 years strong. I'm your host, Amanda Sukenick, and today I'm speaking with the Israeli Antinatalist Street activist behind the recent and incredible EuropeAN tour, spreading antinatalist street activism to an astounding 34 cities in 45 days, Nimrod.
Come and join the EuropeAN tour. Spread the antinatalist word. When we finish Europe, we'll do the rest of the world. The EuropeAN tour. The EuropeAN tour. Antinatalism should grow, so come tell those who still don't know. Stand in the street or central station, explain to people about procreation. It doesn't matter what's your religion, Christianity or atheism. You don't have to believe in God, you just have to believe Nimrod. The EuropeAN tour. The EuropeAN tour. The EuropeAN
Nimrod, welcome to the Exploring Antinatalism Podcast. It is an immense honor and pleasure to have you on the show today. Welcome.
No, the pleasure is all mine, Amanda. I was waiting for it for a long time.
I have been so looking
Pleasure to be
forward to
here.
this. Thank you. The pleasure is absolutely all mine. Nimrod, 34 cities in 45 days. You have done what few would have believed possible, even earlier this year, even just a couple of short months ago. In those 45 days, through your street activism, you have tirelessly campaigned to bring and spread antinatalist activism to anyone and everyone who would listen to you. And along the way, you have inspired antinatalists all over Europe to get active, to get talking to people, and thus fostering grassroots antinatalist activism where in many instances none existed before your intervention. Nimrod, we have so much to cover and talk about today. I hope we can get to most of it, if not hopefully all of it. But to start us off, I would just love to begin by learning some basics about you and who you are. So beginning with the most basic of questions, who is Nimrod?
Well, I'm an activist. This is how I define myself and how I see myself for most of my mature life. I guess the seed to my doubting feelings in the world and forming myself as an activist, even though it took me a few years before I started, is when I was 17. I had a short but very intensive, so to speak, an existential crisis. This some sort of existential crisis. Well, it was in a Yom Kippur. It's a kind of a special day in a Jewish tradition, in Jewish religion, and in Jewish culture. It's not a day that only religious people feel that it's very important. And basically, it can be translated to the Day of Atonement, because people are expected to have kind of introspection, kind of self-searching, a reflection over their lives, their relationship with themselves, with other people, and with God. And the thing is, I'm 46 now, so I was 17 in 1995, So that was a long time ago, and no smartphones, no internet, no television, and no television on that specific day. Young people not on television. I'm not that old. There was television, not on that day, and so it was a good time to do introspection, to self-reflect over all the things that I'm supposed to do. And what drove me is actually just shortly. I kind of look around and I see that religious people are going to the synagogue, but they are reading just script and things that they don't really understand. Others are fasting. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say that it's a fasting day. You have to. We are expected to fast for 24 hours. No water as well. So people are just kind of passing the time until the time to drink and eat again comes. So and I thought this is wrong. That this is the time to do soul searching, not to pass the time talking and nowadays it's probably using the smartphone, watching things on the internet. But back then, just pass the time, and I remember myself kind of laying on my bed and thinking. And ironically, the first and strongest and most prominent thought was that there is no God. I was supposed to think about it, about my relationship with God, and I did a pretty good job. I just omitted God from my life. And I was starting to question all kinds of things in life in general. And as I said in the beginning, I kind of had an existential crisis. So again, very short, very intense, not very emotional. And I'm saying that because I was after thinking about those things, I was living with my family, my parents and my sister, and I was talking to them about all my thoughts, and they were a little bit worried. They thought I was having a kind of an emotional crisis, and I was telling them that no, everything is okay. And everything was okay. I mean, I had a lovely family, loving family. I wasn't lonely. I had friends. Everything was okay in all aspects of life. As it comes to a 17 guy, it wasn't any of that. It wasn't an emotional crisis. It was more a philosophical crisis, existential crisis, as I said. And so I was just kind of I was thinking that life is purposeless, life is goalless. It's just I was looking around and and the image, the analogy, the metaphor that I was thinking back in the days was that most people around me are kind of the ball in a huge pinball machine, kind of throwing from an experience to an experience without really having any control over their lives, without stopping thinking what they want to do with their life, what kind of lives they want, if the life they are living right now aligned with the life that they want to live, and from there I was trying to read some basic existential materials, Sartre, Camus, and a little bit of Kierkegaard, a little bit of Nietzsche, and to try to gather my thoughts and to gather around my sort of crisis. Even though, again, I was feeling okay. It wasn't an emotional or anything like that. Supposedly, my life was fine. It wasn't. I wasn't thinking that something is wrong with my life. I thought that something is wrong in life per se, life in general. I didn't really find the answers in existential philosophy, but somewhere completely different. Jackie Robinson is the first black baseball player who played in a professional league. Later, he became a civil rights activist and very important figure in American history. But I was really moved by his life and by a very important sentence that he said. It really came to me in the right time, in the right place, by the right person. And he said that the only way that you can gain meaning into your life is by making the life of others meaningful. It's by basically by helping others, making their lives more meaningful. And despite that I thought back then, I still think that life is purposeless and goalless. I don't think it's meaningless at all. maybe we will talk about it a little bit later, because I heard every once in a while doing outreach that this is nihilism, pointing at the outrage, at the signs. So maybe we'll touch it a little bit later. But no, that is, for me, it's, I don't know if it's the exact opposite, but absolutely the opposite of nihilism. I think everything is meaningful. It's just purposeless and goalless, and life in itself, and not the lives of sentient beings. That is humans and non-humans just as much, as far as I'm concerned. So I was talking to some of my friends, and I don't think they were quite ready for that, and they were asking me again, what's wrong with your life? Everything's okay with you, and And again, I explained to them, it's not my life, it's not personal. So I think that was the kind of the more the prominent moment of me doubting things around me, and practically becoming an anti-natalist, because I remember myself telling to my parents and my sister that, and I told that to a bunch of people during outreach in the tour, by the way, that when I was 17, I was thinking to myself that it's amazing, it's crazy that the most crucial decision in my life, it wasn't me who made it. That I was, I don't know, found by it. It really struck me back then at 17. So and yeah, and I'm saying that to people in outreach events about antinatalism way later than I had my first antinatalist thoughts. Anyway, I haven't done. Obviously, I didn't know what antinatalism was. I don't think that the term was even invented back then in 1995. It was only, I don't know, 4 years, I think so, that Bennettau wrote his first piece about antinatalism. I think, and maybe in that piece in 1999 or 1998, he wrote the term antinatalism. I'm not sure about it, but it's somewhere around that area. So obviously I didn't know about it, but I was against creating new people, for sure. But I wasn't doing anything active or read about it or anything like that. But I decided that I want to do good in the world. Just very very plain, very simple, simplistic maybe, but just to make this world a little bit less terrible. And it had to wait for a while, for a few years, until I kind of evolved into being an activist. But in my early 20s, more or less when I was 20, I started to do environmentalism activism. And then I realized that my main, back then, they were paving a road that crosses all of over Israel. Israel is not that big country, but still crossing almost the entire country. And a lot of environmentalist organizations were opposing this road building, and I joined the campaign. And I thought to myself that I was really aligned. I was very convinced by all the rational arguments, but I don't know, something hit me in the guts. I felt that this is wrong, and it was more emotional. And I thought, and I was thinking why it's more emotional than rational. Why I'm being convinced by the rational arguments. I'm really mad about this road, and I realized that it's because it will hurt sentient beings, just as simple as that. By paving it, by destructing all the areas, and obviously by the road itself later, and the infrastructure of the road, and the pollution and everything. And to cut a long story short, that was an important moment, but it didn't turn my activism from environmentalism to animal rights. That was reading Animal Liberation by Peter Singer. After reading that book, that's it. I was an animal rights activist from that day on. I became a vegan a little bit earlier, but I was already vegan when I wrote Animal Liberation, but it was more or less at the same time. And I was an animal rights activist for a very long time, doing all kinds of activism. And about 2 years ago, I kind of reintroduced to antinatalism, and learned that all my perceptions are called antinatalism by Inmandem. I saw videos of Inmandem at around 2011, something like that, on YouTube, and I was amazed. I was blown by this guy saying things that I'm feeling for, I don't know, for a decade now. I was really impressed and blown away. So I watched a lot of his videos, and then when it's come to invent them, a lot of videos is not a lot in the scale of his level of production. But I watched a few, and I told to my friends, animal rights friends, and but I haven't done anything about it. And so I can say I was influenced to become an anti-natalist by Imandem or Benatar or you, but all of you and many other important figures in the anti-natalism community were great influence on me to become an activist. So I kind of became an anti-natalist. By the way, this is a story that I heard so many times during the tour, because I was asking the people who joined me, how did you become an anti-natalist? And the story, and more or less the same story, comes back again and again, and that is that I kind of knew that it's wrong to create new people ever since I was a teenager or something like that. Just I didn't know that the term exists, or I wasn't familiar with Benatar or the more organized arguments, but the sentiment was there for a very long time. So yeah, that's a story that comes back again and again. It's my story as well. So again, I was watching Mandem videos, and I wasn't doing anything. I kept my animal rights activism story. And then about 2.5 years ago, my activism career was in a kind of a crossroads. I was thinking that there are many animal rights activists and organizations in the world, and in Israel specifically. It's quite a nice scene in Israel, veganism and animal rights activism as well. Israel is a very complex place. And I was thinking there are many of those, but there are almost no street activism, grassroots activism organizations, people who are taking antinatalism to the streets. I mean, there are a prominent and very influential and efficient writers in the academic sphere, in online sphere, obviously, but not enough on the streets. And when I saw, and so I was thinking, maybe I need to think about doing that. So I started to. I'm not really an online person, so I'm not very strong on the online sphere. But I decided to kind of stop most of my activism in the areas of animal rights, mostly. I just kept going to big events and stuff like that. Obviously, it's very important, but I stopped my regular my participation in regular campaigns and so to speak, daily activism, and starting to just read Benatar, read and when I say Benatar, it's not only Belgian and Dutch, but a few other books, the Human Predicament and Debating for Creation, and a few others. Every credit is a grave, the Conspiracy Against the Human Race, and the Trouble with Being Born. All kinds of books that the history of antinatalism, and a few articles. And I was seriously considering to do a street antinatalism activism in Israel. Now, Israel is not only a very complex place, as probably everyone knows, especially in the last 2 years, especially in the last 8 months. But even before that, it's very family oriented. It's quite religious. It's socially complex. There are very liberal parts and very orthodox parts, very diverse. So I hesitated. I was kind of contemplated about it for a while. I addressed a few people in child-free areas, a little bit in animal rights areas, and I decided that I want to set up a meeting. That was in the first days of 2023. And I set the meeting in my house, and nobody showed up. Nobody came. A few people contact me. We have kind of online discussions. They wanted to help, wanted to do all kinds of things. They had suggestions. But I wanted someone that said, "That's it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm with you. Let's do it." And no one with that approach, right? That kind of approach showed up. So I was waiting for a little while, and then, and by the way, I decided that I shouldn't watch Stop Having Kids videos, because I knew that it will do one of two things. It will make me go to the streets tomorrow, or never do it. I decided to do it because I wanted to do it. I wanted to start. I knew I wanted to start. Just I needed to give myself the push, the nudge, but I'm saying I wanted to give myself a nudge, but it wasn't very psychological. I really wanted people to join me because I didn't want to set the name by myself, to construct the website, and to choose a logo and design for the website. I wanted that it will be. I didn't want to make decisions for others that will join me later, and then it would be too late to change things. I wanted us to do it together, but just no one showed up. So I worked on the website. I wrote some materials, and then on April 22, which is Earth Day, I decided to join a march in Israel, in Tel Aviv. It was an Earth Day march, and I made 4 signs. I think that I don't know if they will be translated very, very good, but one of them said, "Just don't procreate." Another said, "People are causing a lot of suffering." The Israeli Antinatalist movement, obviously, because I'm trying to form a movement, and something that will probably get lost in translation, but in Hebrew it sounds much better. But it's something like it won't end unless we'll all have a vasectomy, something like that. So so I joined the march, and that was kind of my launch of the Israeli Antinatalism movement. So I was still waiting for. I was hoping that this march will kind of be the push that some people needed. I got some support, a patting on my back, but I wanted people to join me, not compliments. You are so bold. Yeah, so join me. I will be much more. I will have much more guts if you will join me. But people were hesitating and had their own things. Anyway, in June in Israel, it's kind of a Pride month. There are a lot of Pride parades and environmental events, academic conferences, and all kinds of environmental ecological events. So I joined them with anti-natalism, with anti-natalist messages. The Pride parades were amazing. I was so surprised. One of them was in my biological birthday, and I said that, "Thank you, Tel Aviv. You gave me the best birthday present I ever got." It was a huge march. It was the Pride Parade in 2023, a different atmosphere than the march in 2024. Sorry, that I participated just 2 weeks ago. So about almost 30,000 people joined this march with a lot of exposure to the signs, which were "Make love, not babies," and one a little more provocative, but kind of funny, and the paraders liked it. So it was oral and anal is more ecological, and people loved it. So it was a success. This kind of ballsy and provocative sign, and but the environmental events weren't that successful. I don't know why. I was expecting the opposite. Yeah. So the LGBTQ is much more open and receptive and cool than the environmental scene, at least in Israel. But probably in all over the world.
That kind of makes sense. Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say that kind of makes sense, because I mean the environmentalism, I think, not to grossly overgeneralize, but they're more weary of things that maybe to them smell a little bit like population ethics or control or something like, not that that's what we're doing, but to their eyes it might look like that. So, but
Right.
I sort of feel like there is a lot of potential for antinatalism to take on a strain of a kind of sexual identity. Not really, but I just feel like there's a huge potential for an LGBTQ plus IAAN kind of world to develop. And so it's awesome that you've kind of made strides in that area. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just had to say that.
No. You remind me of to shortly mention the last Pride parade, which was a whole different atmosphere. It wasn't a parade; it was much more political, and it was more of a protest than kind of a party, for the obvious reasons in Israel right now. But there was an event. It was respectful and it was nice, and I joined it with the signs and again, the community was very receptive, very opening, and very nice and receptive. During the march, during the parade, it was more of a march, and during the event itself. So I was kind of doing an outreach, placed a few signs, and people came to take photos, to have a little chat, to give me the thumbs up, and just to ask what it's about. And yeah, so it was a very nice event. Not easy for the obvious reasons, but yeah, it's important. And regardless of anti-natalism, I'm really glad that they have done this. They organized this event, and that they organized it in that particular way. So yeah, I wasn't sure if I'm doing right, participating in this and bringing with me anti-natalist messages, but no, it was a smart decision, and it went out. It was great. So yeah, I'm very glad that I made that decision. It was
I think
only recently.
I think it was a brilliant, very inspired decision to do that. Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably the first to try to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, and it's not the last time. Maybe
well,
it's a
I hope
hint.
not. I
Yeah,
hope not.
maybe it's a hint for
and hopefully
the
more
remainder of our
will
evening.
start. Absolutely.
Yeah.
well, let me just but before we move on to some of the bigger things that you've done, just to pull us back a little bit. I mean, there's so much of I mean, first of all, thank you so much for a very candid description of like your growth into an activist. And your story is not terribly different than my own in some respects. I mean, so much of this, I think, for a lot of us, not just you and me, begins with a recognition of atheism. And then all of the other pieces just sort of gradually fall into place: animal rights, antinatalism, but it kind of all starts from there. So I very much identify with that. It's fascinating that you, kind of a piece of your coming to this subject and this activism begins for you in 2011 with, seeing in Mendham videos. That's very much my own story too, although mine began in 2010. And it's always fascinating for me to hear sort of who was watching at that period of time, because that really was a huge just moment in the antinatalist world when such a huge amount of content started getting produced around the subject during those years. And yeah, it's just fascinating to hear, like, not you didn't hear from everybody that was watching, but gradually as time goes on, hearing from people like you, like, yeah, people were definitely engaged. I want to just let everybody know that more details about Nimrod's activism before the tour, and also more details about other existing Israeli antinatalism can be found in this wonderful interview that Lawrence Anton did with you and Haran Yakir, who if I'm not mistaken, did like the first lecture on antinatalism in Israel.
Probably.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
I've been following his work for a long time, so that's a fascinating video. That link to that will be below. Just a small question: were you the originator of the Facebook group, like the Israeli Antinatalist Facebook group? Because that's been around forever, and I've never really known who started that.
No, that was David.
That was David. Okay.
Yeah. That was David. I'm not sure when he started, but yeah, it's been out there for several years now. Yep.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. It's quite a long time. It's one of the first ones I remember seeing actually back in the day. So you've spoken in part about this, but just to bring us to a bit more detail, how. I asked some version of this to all my guests, and obviously I know the answer, but it's always interesting to hear how people uniquely explain it for themselves. Why are you, or are you not, an anti-natalist, Nimrod?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely an anti-natalist, and I'm wearing the shirt to make that statement. And yeah, so in a way, it's kind of connects to the existential crisis in a way, because well, when I was talking to people and I was telling them about this existential crisis when I was 17 during the outreach, I remembered, probably that's why I'm bringing it now. It kind of reminded me that, because currently, sorry, I'm taking a long route here. So, but my antinatalism is so much about suffering. Is so much based on elevating, reducing, preventing suffering, and that is the suffering of the created person and caused by the created person. Because every case of procreation is not only creating a potential victim or an assured victim, but for sure an assured victimizer because of the harm to others. So, so this is my main motive, and the harm to others, and the main reason why I'm an anti-natalist activist. But it started with thinking that life is purposeless and again goalless, and it was more philosophical, but it just wasn't a strong motive. It wasn't something that would take me to the streets. As I kind of grew up as a person and an activist, and someone who realizes in what kind of a world I'm living, and seeing and being exposed and being aware of all suffering that is all around, it's about suffering. So my basic and simplest answer is that I'm an anti-natalist because I want to prevent the suffering of the created person and the suffering caused by the created person. It's as simple as that. Even though I agree with practically all the arguments that I know of in anti-natalism. I mean, I'm very much I agree with the consent argument, which is a little bit controversial. I totally agree with the consent argument, with the risk argument, giving on someone else's life, and treating others as a mean to an end. That the world is unfair. I mean, the imposition argument, I have a kind of different version, maybe we'll talk about later, but anyway, so I agree with practically all the arguments that I've heard so far for anti-natalism, but this is my main motive. So I'm an anti-natalist because I want to prevent suffering. So as simple as that. And I think this is the most assured and safest way to prevent suffering. Just don't put someone else in harm's place, and don't put someone else in a position that will cause harm to others. As simple as that.
Beautiful, beautifully said. This is kind of an aside, but I just want to say it now in case I forget. But one of the things I respect the most about you and your approach is you seem to have an ability to kind of adapt well. Like, you have a vision for like what you want to do. Like, you wanted to get all these people together and immediately like create, a movement in Israel, but like it didn't happen right away, and it's still developing, but you haven't quit. And I love that about what you do. It's like, you don't give up. And I think that's the attitude that an activist really needs to have when they're creating a form of activism around a subject like this, right? Because like, how many people have really done antinatalist activism in the world? Like, it's a very new form of activism. I've kind of likened it to like a wheel that's like, not many people have gotten to roll previously. And so, yeah, so I just have a lot of respect for you on that front. So thank you for that. But just wanted to say that. But Another question I have for you is, obviously how antinatalism is defined is all over the map. People have huge disagreements about how to define antinatalism. And as I'm sure it's only been in the last couple of months that like antinatalism has had its first English language entry into like an official dictionary. There's a couple of others in other languages, but it's still pretty all over the place. So how do you define antinatalism?
Well, first of all, just a short comment about what you said about persistence and stability is so important when you're doing activism. So I totally agree. And I have kind of a line from a song that I really, really love, written on a piece of paper in front of my computer that says, "You try again forever." And I love that line. When I need it, I'm listening to that song, and it really uplifts me. So yeah, the song is called "Go," which kind of aligned with activism, and I'm in love with that line. You try again forever. Sorry.
So it's not to interrupt, but that's a perfect line for an antinatalist to take to heart, but not a natalist to take to heart, right? They gotta stop trying again forever, and we're the ones that gotta keep going. So sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I had to say that.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, regarding definition, well, I don't think I have a long one or a complicated one. It's really an ethical opposition to procreation. An ethical opposition to creating new sentient beings, especially humans. But I'm an atheist, so all sentient beings. I'm an atheist. I'm not talking about atheism doing outreach events, but I am an atheist, so I'm saying sentient beings. But yeah, the focus is on human procreation for obvious reasons. Maybe we'll touch it a little bit later.
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I mean, I am also an ethicist. I'm also a sentiocentric antinatalist, but in terms of street activism, it's not the easiest thing to combine. You almost sometimes it feels in my personal, very limited experience with doing street activism. I've only done it once.
Yeah.
You kind of do the best you can speaking a sentiocentric kind of message, but it's almost like people can only handle one or the other. I don't know.
Exactly. I think it's too much.
Yeah.
The appeal to nature, famous phenomenon, is so strong, and people see nature as an ideal. Even in the animal rights movement, and I heard it a lot during doing outreach now in the tour and in Israel as well. So yeah, atheism right now is a bar too high. So I'm not talking about atheism. However, when I'm being asked a direct question, and it happened in many cases, many times during the tour, and generally, I'm not lying. I'm not hiding it. I'm saying, there is a lot of suffering in nature. I think that if I could somehow convince non-human animals not to procreate, I would. But I usually I'm putting the sign. I'm saying I can't make signs that approach other animals. So I can't really affect the reproduction of other animals. That's the only reason. But yeah, I think that if we could, we should. So I'm not talking about atheism, but again, if I'm being directly asked, I am saying that I'm an atheist.
Right, absolutely. Well, I mean, that brings me to another question is, what are your thoughts on like the current state of antinatalist activism? I mean, because right now the bulk of it, over the last 14 years has been online. The presence of street activism is pretty new. I mean, maybe since 2017. You got Vehement and Church of Euthanasia before us, blah blah blah, but they weren't using the word antinatalism. There's something a little bit different. There are cousins, but something a little bit different. And and online at least, there's this massive amount of infighting. A massive amount of infighting, and we can't seem to agree on anything. And so what is your thoughts about that? Because it seems like the world of street activism for antinatalism is a much more peaceful place. And no, I don't think anybody could have expected that, because I think that, since it's confronting a non-antinatalist audience, the expectation is that it's going to be a lot more aggressive, but that's not always the way that it seems to pan out. So anyway, yeah, just any thoughts you might have on the way that antinatalist activism has existed over the last 14 years, the infighting, and what you think the state of it is right now.
Well, I'm not really. I wasn't following the anti-natalism community, especially online, all these years. So I don't know a lot. I don't know much about the infighting, but I was exposed to the infighting when I started. I think that it's probably was one of the reasons, and I'm used to infighting because in the animal rights community there are also many infighting and environmental issues and human rights. So yeah, we are used to that. When you are doing activism, be prepared for infighting. So I think that maybe that was one of the reasons that I decided to kind of push myself away from the online community. It was kind of a strategic decision that maybe it will kind of wear me out and wear me down very, very, very fast. And I wanted to do street activism. That was my vision. I wanted grassroots activism, and speaking of the animal rights movement, like in the animal rights movement, that was my model, that was the motive, and when seeing a lot of infighting, I think that kind of chased me away even further from the online community. Even though it's very important. This is not an advice. I was saying that I was stopping all my activism and kind of just set and read. That's good, but I was too detached from the online community. I think we should do both, but I'm not a fan of the online communities in online sphere in general. So yeah, and I was exposed to the infighting. So yeah, I guess that was one of the reasons that I'm not really there. Obviously, there are major disadvantages to that. Maybe we'll get into it when if I'll talk a little bit about preparing for the tour, because it relates to it to a high degree. Because I'll just maybe say shortly, because I'm not in the online sphere, I'm anonymous. Nobody knows me in the anti-natalism community, and that's a major disadvantage when you want people to join you. And in fact, that was the reason. I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead, but I will go back to the infighting and the different dynamics about street activism and in a second. And just if I'm already talking about me being absolutely unknown in the anti-natalism community, my decision to announce the European tour when it's already planned in quite late, and I mean quite late after I started, and I kind of visioned it, but too near the day that it started, is because I was afraid, and it's something I've seen in activism many times before. Someone coming from the outside and saying, "You know what we should do? We should do this and that, X, Y, Z." And if that figure is not known, and even if the idea is good, and that person is capable of accomplishing, at least, or initiating this idea, I think that people will probably kind of water down the idea, ignore it, and it will be another guy, or again at the end of the guy, another person will throw an idea, and nobody take it seriously. Why I announced the tour very late, and that's because People don't know me, and I was afraid that people won't take it seriously. So I wanted to announce it when it's happening. But only if there will something really exceptional will happen. For example, if Iran will decide to launch 200 missiles into Israel one day before the tour, as happened in April 14, and they closed the airport. So I spent the whole night worried about, well, first of all, getting bombed, and also that they won't open the airport and the tour is off. So that was a terrible night, real nightmare on many aspects. So unless something like that happens, the tour is on, and that's what that's when I wanted to announce it, that it's on, and people can join me. So that was my decision. I regret the decision. I think I made a mistake. I think it would be much better if I would announce it more or less when I thought about it and I decided I'm doing it. And if some people will think, oh, it's another person who throw an idea and a little bit crazy idea, and it probably never happened. And so what? If I'm going to do it, I would gain. I may have gained much more support, and many more people would join me if I would announce it much earlier. So that was I made a bunch of mistakes preparing for the tour, and that was one of the major ones. So yeah, I regret that. I understand why I made that decision. It was a wrong decision. So anyway, getting back to infighting in street activism. Well, one of the things that I was concerned about when I was joined by people I don't know. I mean, kind of in Instagram, emails, and a little bit in WhatsApp, but I don't know them. So obviously I think it goes without saying, but I wasn't testing their perceptions, or I wasn't interviewing them because who am I? I don't think I had the authority to decide who can join me. So anyone who wanted to join me, practically had. So and I was worried about it. Not that much, but yeah, it crossed my mind. Fortunately, I don't recall, except one case, which I prefer not to get into right now. I don't remember anyone appeared problematic or into fighting or in it for the wrong reasons or not really anti-natalists. I mean, who but you knows, who other than you knows that how diverse this community is. There are many anti-natalists with many different anti-natalist perceptions, but as long as it's really anti-natalism, it's an ethical opposition to procreation, which is my definition. I don't have a problem with that. Some people were more focused on environmental aspects, others on harming others, others on how pointless and redundant and even ridiculous is to create a person in this kind of world. That is their thing, and obviously I respect it. This is anti-natalism, so as long as it's anti-natalism, I have no problem with that. Again, I don't have any I don't know, authorization to rank the approaches or anything like that. So sorry, it's a too long answer to a very interesting question that I don't think I thought about it while doing the tour and after it, but yeah, it's a very interesting question. Oh, sorry. Another important thing to say about it. Okay, so I was saying that it happens that, and I don't think it's accidental, that most of the people who have joined into the street activism have some kind of background in doing animal rights activism, or are kind of a genuine part in the animal rights community. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that these are the kind of people that are more used to do activism, and activism is not foreign to them. They feel that they can do it, and so they feel more secure in doing it. And considering that the people who have joined me are have some experience in activism, and specifically in animal rights activism, I think it makes the case that they are coming from more or less the same background, and they are coming into antinatalism in general as a perception, as a philosophy, and to activism drive by more or less the same motives. So there are less, I think this is my explanation, this is my analysis of why there are indeed less infighting. So that's one, I think, prominent reason. Another is that, and that is the more disappointing, so to speak, reason in that is that there are not that many. So there's less room for infighting. So, and the online community is huge. So I guess that's another reason why there's less infighting. But yes, there were less infighting, and we got along pretty good. And that's great. So far.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. No. Those are all really, really great thoughts, and I think you've hit the nail on the head on several points there. I just want to say that I personally, as an outsider looking in anyway, I wouldn't look at it as a mistake to have not built an online presence beforehand. I'm sure I'm sure it can feel that way, and I'm sure had you had a bigger online presence beforehand, it may have been a little smoother sailing, especially in some cities. It would have given you more time, and it would have drawn more people together, sure. But you can't, I mean, again, I don't want to tell you how to feel about it, but again, from an outsider looking in, all of the people that you managed to bring together, all of the anti-natalists that you met along the way, you met some of the most famous anti-natalists in the world. They came to meet you on your tour. You are now one of the most well-known anti-natalists in the world, because of the tour. So so you kind of were you bypassed having to go through years of the hell of the online internet community, and did it your own way. So it worked out for the best, really, I think. And now you're firmly planted into the online world too. So it's you got the best of both worlds, I think, in to a large degree. So it's good. Yeah. I mean, I first heard about the tour through Lawrence and a little, get together that he sometimes has, and join Lawrence on Patreon for more. Follow Lawrence on Patreon for more about that. And do that. Yeah, absolutely do that. Link below to where you can help support Lawrence.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was the most metal thing I've ever heard of in my life. I was that was such an amazing thing. And I didn't know you very well at the time. So it did, as you were saying, it's I didn't know what to expect. Is this thing really going to happen? It almost seemed like a, like a bit of a fever dream almost, but you did pull it together. And so I'd love to just have a little bit of insight into how you came up with this idea. How did you pick the cities? Because there's so many different places in Europe you could have visited, and you got to a tremendous amount. But how were the cities picked? How did you plan this thing out? I know enough about sort of the why you've done it. But you very efficiently planned this massive odyssey in a very short period of time. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that backstory. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think it's not a one-person operation. It's a bit. It appeared to be too much. Meaning doing all the administration, and there is a lot of administration. Doing the social media area and recording and stuff like that, and doing the outreach themselves and contacting people. I think it was too much, and I'm honestly, I'm not at all a pretentious person, and the mindset wasn't I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna create the anti-natalism street activism movement. No, not at all. I was just ready to do it, and I was willing to do it. I really, really want street activism because you know, speaking on the online infighting and generally speaking about online activism. I'm sorry again. I'm not directly answering your questions. I promise I'll get back to it. So something that I learned doing street activism, doing outreach on the street of Israel for about more or less 6 months, something like that. Obviously until October the 7th, and then all the activism in Israel went into a halt, and along with my attempt to establish an anti-natalism movement in Israel. And that, by the way, was one of the strongest drives to do the tour, because the reactions to anti-natalism outreach on the streets of Israel, which is again not the ideal place to do anti-natalism activism, were very positive. I was surprised. I had no idea what I'm going into. I had my concerns and just decided I have to try, and the reactions were very positive. So that's one. And second, since October, I just couldn't do it anymore because people's minds, energy, and attention were elsewhere. So for understandable reasons. So I stopped with doing street activism. So the fact that when I did street activism in Israel, it went very well, and the fact that I couldn't continue to do it to this day, more or less, were the two strongest drives to do the European tour. Because I thought if there is a place, if there is a room for street activism in Israel, I have no doubt that there is room for street activism for a grassroots anti-natalist movement in Europe. And I knew that there is obviously there is Stop Having Kids, the great Stop Having Kids in the US. There is Anti-natalist in Japan. There is a street activism group in New Zealand, in Bangladesh, and in India, but none in Europe, and that was very strange. So obviously it would be better if it was a European person doing it. Perhaps a person with better connections and a bit better English than mine, and anyway, it ended up being me. So just wanted to say that the mindset wasn't that I'm gonna change the the anti-natalism movement or form the anti-natalism movement in Europe or in general. Not at all. Anyway, getting back to your question. Sorry. So you were asking. The preparations and the technicalities, a little bit of the technicalities of preparing for the tour. Well, that's a good question. I wanted to. I had in mind that I want to be in Israel in June because I was naive enough to think that the war will end before June, and that maybe things will get back to the normal in Israel term. So I can get back to do activism in Israel. And as I was saying earlier, June is quite an efficient month because of all kinds of events that happen in Israel. I wanted to be here when they take place, and I didn't want to be in Europe in the summer because everything is much more expensive, more crowded, and a lot of tourists, and so I didn't want it to be too hot and all kinds of technical reasons and motives. And so I decided I want to the core of the tour will be on May, and since it's still a little bit cold, especially in Scandinavia, in April, it made a lot of sense to start in Spain, to start in the warmest areas of Europe. So I started from the west south part of Europe, and kind of I was trying to do kind of a geographical route, kind of going up north and reaching Scandinavia when it's a little bit hotter, at least. And at some point, I don't know, it's not very interesting. Some of the technical issues, but all the tour I was traveling by buses and trains. I had only one flight, and that was when I reached Stockholm, and I needed to get back into the mainland, and there is no reasonable way to do it by train or a bus, so I had to take a flight. So there was only one flight from Stockholm to Budapest, because I wanted to do a little bit more in the mainland. The idea was to start from warmer places and to reach the colder places a little bit later in the tour, and to do kind of a reasonable and geographically reasonable route, so I could travel by train and buses. So yeah, that's more or less was the basic plan. And I had 3 kind of fixed dates during the tour, which are April 22, which is Earth Day, April 24, which is the day for laboratory animals, and for animals exploited in the experiment industry. It's a much more accurate and less speciesist way to describe this day. And May 1st, which is the International Workers' Day. So I really wanted to be in big cities, or at least very relevant cities, in each of these dates. So that was kind of something that I really wanted to kind of point when I planned the tour. So I decided that I will be in Paris in Earth Day, in Brussels in the World Day against using animals in laboratories and animal experiments, and in Stuttgart on May 1st, because it appeared that they have a very, very nice march in Stuttgart on May 1st. So I really want to join the march there. Other than that, it was most of my decisions were based on price and how long it takes to reach from one city to another, and if there is a night train or a night bus, because it's a real waste of time to spend my days and traveling from place to place, and to cut expenses. I didn't want to sleep in a hostel, so I tried to use the nights to travel from place to place. So all these factors played, but these are the significant factors that kind of maybe plan the routes as I did, more or less. I mean, yeah. Other than that, I wanted to choose big cities or cities that I thought that have a greater potential, as far as I know, that people will join me. In some cases, it was because I knew there is some kind of community, like Hamburg, the amazing Hamburg, the capital of antinatalism, at least in Europe. And in other places, it was kind of intuition. For example, cities like Barcelona, Berlin, and Amsterdam, which are very international and cosmopolitan cities. I figured for sure people will join me, and the outreach will be good, and big cities, and so for sure I will visit these cities. Yeah, so I guess there were some specific choices that were a little bit weird, but some of them were more technical and kind of geographical, and cut expenses, and kind of making a stop between 2 big cities. And so if you are wondering, is Kurdin real or House, or I don't know, Helsingborg? Yes, they are, and I've been.
That solidifies it. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and I have some stories about some of them. Maybe we'll which later on. But this is basically the reasons that I chose this particular route, more or less.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, before we get into like talking about this, each of the countries and the cities, I do want to say I mean, it's just a brilliant point that you made that like, yeah, like why hasn't there been, activism in so many of these European cities? Like if we look back, there's been a little bit in Poland,
Hmm.
There's been a little bit in the UK, with Danny Shine and Speaker's Corner, blah, blah, blah. Little bit in Germany, with some meetups and stuff like that. I'm probably forgetting something somewhere along the line, but like, that's pretty much it. So like, it's amazing. It's amazing. Like, why has it taken so long for all of these different European cities to have any, forward-facing anti-natalist activism? I mean, in some ways, it's not hard to believe just because globally we really are at the beginning of this. But I, even in the places where you found none, it's a huge contribution to have like put feelers out in all of these places and just seeing what you can stir up, seeing what you can find. So that again, like even where you weren't able to get anybody to come, it's a huge contribution. So let's get into it. Let's get into the European tour. I think the dates changed a little over time, next to what you said. So it officially began, unless I'm mistaken, please correct me, on April 15th. I know that we had some video of you like at the airport or at the bus terminal getting ready, about to embark on this incredible journey.
Hey, pro-natalist of Europe. I'm coming to get you.
Beforehand, you had made signs, and you had you got some donations. I know you had like kind of worked overtime, like preparing for this thing. I mean, this took a massive effort, in a very short period of time, getting ready to go. And the first place, unless I'm mistaken, on your journey was Spain. So you visited Madrid, Valencia, and Barcelona. Incidentally, I have been to Madrid and Barcelona when I was very, very young. Love those places. So tell me, I mean, I don't know that we'll go through each individual city, but we can certainly if you want. But just, in general, what are some of the stories? What happened, in your time in Spain?
I hope I will have something that may be of interest in each city. I hope. I can't promise, but so generally speaking, in Spain, I'm not sure why. I don't think it's an English thing, but it may be the case. People were not engaging, and that was very frustrating. And it's important to say that basically I tried to spend my mornings and noons in university campuses, and afternoons and evenings in high streets and the shopping streets and the big squares, and where basically when people hang out in the evenings in each city that I visited. That was the basic plan, and in more or less all the places I visited that I done an outreach event in Spain, people weren't engaging, and specifically in Madrid, the university is really huge, and it's very fragmented, and so I decided that instead of just wandering around from faculty to faculty, maybe I'll do something more strategic and wait for people in the main entrance of the metro station, where people who are finished their day, using the metro to get back home, and vice versa, people who are starting the day. So I stood in the metro station, in the entrance of the metro station, in a very good location, with a few signs, and got a lot of exposure, but not a lot of engagement. That was a little bit disappointing. And I had just a handful of talks. And my experience is that once the conversation is starting, it's more likely that more people will join. So at some point, because I was waiting for the first engagement to come along for quite a while, I artificially, and I did it in other cases as well, I kind of artificially prolonged the conversation so more people can join, and it works. It worked in Madrid as well, but still, at some point there were I don't know, like 1,000 people around, but they weren't engaging. They were listening to the two people I was talking with, and so these two people were devoted Christians who wanted to talk about abortion, and I decided that I would talk to them about abortion only for only so that the conversation will will last, so more people will come. So yeah, that's a sacrifice that you have to do to gain more engagement. So yeah, so generally speaking, not a lot of engagement, but a lot of exposure. Later that day, the afternoon and evening outreach was in a very big square. So we are talking about thousands of people who are exposed to the signs. But again, not a lot of people are talking to me, or also, a little bit of a few people took a picture, or there was a lady who took a picture and said, "I'm sending it to all of my friends," which was a nice moment, and people are giving me the thumbs up. But I wanted discussions, and I didn't get much of it in Spain in general and in Madrid specifically. I had a very interesting conversation on one of the main streets in Madrid, which was very, very nice. Someone and kind of passed the signs and then turned back and kind of shook my hand and told me, "I didn't know that people are talking about this in the public sphere." The first time I see something like that, and we're having a little chat, very nice. And he told me that he's also a philosophical pessimist, and he showed me on his phone that the book that he's reading right now is The Conspiracy Against the Human Race by Thomas Ligotti. It kind of showed me the page. Look what I'm reading now. That was very, very nice. And it's kind of uplifting when you are spending most of the day alone, because nobody joined me. Unfortunately, nobody joined me in Madrid. However, I would like to shortly mention help that I got from an animal rights activist who is an anti-natalist, someone who lives a little bit outside of Madrid. His name is Alberto, and this is an opportunity to thank him because he helped me so much. And maybe for him it's like, well, you are doing something that I highly support. I don't have the time to join you because at the time I was in Madrid. I can't expect people to align to my schedule. I'm coming in a specific date, and so I can't expect people to join me when I'm visiting their city. So unfortunately, sorry. At the time I was in Madrid, he was really busy with an animal rights campaign, so he couldn't come to the outreach event themselves. But he helped me so much. Every day he took me to the public transportation, so I will so I reached Madrid as easy for me as possible. He fixed me food. We had dinner together. We spent some time in the evening together. He interviewed me about my day. Really helped me so much, and obviously hosted me. So I could cut some of the very high expenses of this tour. So Alberto helped me a lot, just by being there, by being supportive, and by practically helping me in so many ways. So and it's important for me to mention it right now, not only to thank him again, but if you know about someone who is doing something like that, or you're supporting their activism, and you can help in all kinds of ways. Just put yourself out there, ask if you can help in any way, even if you don't feel comfortable doing outreach or talking to strangers about antinatalism on the street, which is totally understandable. I get it, but you can help in so many other ways. And this is not the case of Alberto. He was just busy, but again, it warms my heart that a lot of people, Alberto was one of them, really done everything that they can to help, even if they didn't they haven't joined me physically to the outreach events. So it's so important for me as someone who has done this tour. So it was important for me to say that. Well, after Madrid, I visited Valencia. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to say about Valencia. I picked the university. I've done an outreach event in Valencia University, and I was standing in front of the main entrance of the philosophy faculty, and I was expecting a lot of engagement and pushback and interesting conversations, but they didn't engage. I don't know why. So that was a bit disappointing. And in the evening, I've done an outreach in the high street, a very busy street in front of a shopping mall. So again, a lot of exposure, but really only a handful of people approached, and we have a discussion. However, one memorable one was with a very young girl who, despite being very young, very, very aware, very conscious, very sensitive, great English. So it was a great. I was very surprised. Great conversation. I was really. She very much agreed with antinatalism. She didn't know about antinatalism, so that was great. She saw this shirt and the term, and so that was very, very positive. And I'm really glad that we met each other on that day. But other than that, I didn't have a lot of engagement in Valencia. Well, Barcelona, it was a little bit more interesting. First of all, I was driving to a university that is outside of the city. It's called something like Autonoma Barcelona, Autonoma University of Barcelona, something like that. It was supposed to be some kind of an open university. However, ironically, I was kicked out of this university by the security guards, and unfortunately, it was very soon after I kind of settled the outreach event there. So that was very disappointing. However, I did have a very positive and interesting conversation with two philosophy students. I was choosing the philosophy faculty. So that was a great conversation. Again, two female students, didn't know about what antinatalism was. So they asked me what it's about. I explained to them, and they said, we agree, which is amazing. And now they know the term, and they know that there is kind of a movement and activism, very, very positive. I'm not sure it was worth all the time and effort to reach this university, and that was very disappointing. I was trying to point on to the security guards on the irony that I'm just being kicked out of the autonomous university, but no, they didn't get the joke and they kicked me out. So they were very polite, by the way. It wasn't anything hostile or anything. Very respectful, but again, I wanted to stay there, not being treated politely. Anyway, I still wanted to do an outreach in a university in Barcelona. So I drove to. Went to the big campus, the biggest campus in the university, in the Barcelona. Sorry. And again, because it's huge and it's very fragmented. I chose the main entrance to the metro station, and again, very few engagements, a lot of exposure, but very few engagements. So a few positive conversations, but not below my expectations, and no one joined me in Barcelona, so that was a little bit disappointing as well. Three very positive, worth mentioning in encounters that happened in Barcelona. One of them that one of the university branches appeared to be quite deserted and not really relevant to do an outreach. So I crossed the street to a main square, and I met a girl called Roxy, a young woman called Roxy, and she was really touched by the whole thing and about someone talking about the immorality of procreation, and specifically by the sign that people are causing a lot of suffering. So she took the sign and just walked around the square, tried to invite people. She was very proactive and tried to invite people to talk to me. That was great. It didn't work out very successfully, but it was a great effort, and I really enjoyed. And in a way, Roxy was the first person to join me in the tour. So, that's a memorable thing. Sorry. Another very positive thing is that a Mexican couple who is doing a podcast about creative ideas, something like that, decided to interview me for their podcast on the spot, just during the outreach, and you can listen to this short interview on the YouTube channel of the EuropeAN tour. I guess you will link the details on the description or something. So people can listen if they want to this short interview. I think the girl was child-free and the guy is anti-natalist. So that was great, and it can only happen if you are putting yourself out there. They would never met me. They were on a vacation there, so they just bumped into me. So that's a strong motive to just try and do it. And the last encounter that was very uplifting for me is a guy called Marcus, who is doing very long, hours long animal rights activism. So it's not exactly anti-natalism, but it's really encouraging and uplifting. He's standing there for hours every day with a video, with a laptop, and showing people what's going on in factory farms. And I stayed with him for a while. We had a long conversation. He's an anti-natalist, obviously, and at some point he suggested that I will do my outreach. I told him about the tour and everything, obviously, right across the street in front of him. So if anyone is trying to dodge him, he will meet me. He or she will meet me. That was brilliant. The only thing that is that when I met him, I was on my way to the next destination, to Toulouse, to France. So we end up we haven't had the chance to do it, but that was brilliant, and it was nice just to hear him suggesting it. So so I guess that's more or less sums the Spanish part of the tour.
Beautiful. Well, that was Spain. I mean, look, I think, maybe it was a little thin on meeting people, but still some great experiences to be had during the Spanish wing of the tour. What was I going to say? It's really interesting that here starts, you're hitting these different college campuses and philosophy departments. I mean, that's kind of one of the things I found most interesting throughout the entire tour, is that it was also sort of a tour of these different philosophy departments, or outside of them at least. And I mean, maybe not the best way of getting a sense of, what the reaction to antinatalism would be from
Right.
various philosophy departments, but it was something along those lines. I know that the Revistas Jornadas guys tried to meet up with you at some point in Spain, or in Barcelona. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. That would have been really cool. But yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. So great work in Spain, and then so on to France. You went to Toulouse, you went to Lyon, and you went to Paris. And I know that that was a lot more engagement there. You met the wonderful Yuridos, Yuri as I call him. And so tell me all about France.
Yeah, so I'll keep it short in Toulouse and Lyon. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to tell. In Lyon, by the way, in Madrid, it was 40 degrees. And in Lyon, which was only, I guess, 6 days, something like that, and it's not that far from Madrid. Lyon is not that far from Madrid, and it was 5 degrees. So it's a 35 degrees difference between Madrid and Lyon. It was extremely cold and windy and a bit rainy. So just bad luck. I wasn't expecting such a harsh weather. By the way, it's a team in many cities that I visited, unfortunately. So I didn't have a lot of luck in generally speaking, and in the respect of the weather. And Lyon was one of the harshest in that relation. But I used the time because it wasn't really well, there weren't many people on the street, and it wasn't. I couldn't really do an outreach event in Lyon I tried, but people were walking with umbrellas and hand in pocket and kind of hurry. So, yeah, the weather didn't allow it. But so I used the time to make the signs, prepared more signs for Paris and for Stuttgart for May 1st. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot to say about Lyon, and more or less the same about Toulouse. At some point in Spain, I think it was Tofudel that gave the tip that maybe I should make a sign saying, "Please come talk to me." So I made one in Barcelona, and I used it in France, and from that point on for the entire tour. And I was trying to make people engaged and come to talk to me all the time. At some point, I was holding the sign and kind of giving them the best version of my puppy dog eyes, like come talk to me. But yeah, it worked sometimes. It was a great tip, and it worked. It was brilliant. So yeah, it was very helpful, but not always, obviously. So I didn't get a lot of engagement in Toulouse. One interesting conversation in Toulouse was with a woman who told me she wants to experience pregnancy. And at the beginning, I told her that I think it's a very selfish reason to create a whole new person. You're not replicating. You're not, replicating. That person will not live your life to be a whole different person. And that is really selfish to create someone because that explicitly treating someone as a mean to an end because you want to experience pregnancy. And she told me, I'm not a selfish person. Actually, I'm doing a lot of positive things. And she kind of listed some of the positive things that she was doing. And she's a very positive person. So I told her, you realize that once you will have a child, you won't have you won't be able to do all these really positive and great things that you are doing, at least not to the same degree that you are doing right now, because you will be very occupied with raising someone who didn't need you before you decide to create that person, and that will be all at the expense of people who need you and other animals and whatever goals that she's promoting that need you right now, and you are helping them, and that clicked. That convinced her. So that was this is a great example of a case that someone came to the outreach a little bit negative, and the conversation ended up very, very positive. So yeah, that was a great and that was a very positive and constructive discussion in Toulouse. And now Paris. So Paris was the sixth city I visited during the tour, and it was more or less a week into the tour. And as I just detailed, the first five were a little bit disappointing. No one really joined me, an exception of Roxy, which is not exactly someone joined me. And in Paris, in Paris, I got the moment I was waiting for. In Paris, I at some point, the four of us, meaning Lucas, Nicolas, and Joseph, who had joined me to the 2 days of a very intensive outreach events, we were all deeply engaged in conversation with people in one of the high streets in Greece, Paris. And there was a moment there that someone was I was engaged. I was deeply engaged in the conversation as well, and the person I was talking to needed a moment to think about something I said, and at that moment I was kind of looking to the right and to my and to the left, and I saw all four of us deeply engaged in conversation about procreation in the streets, and I was thinking, that's it. That's what I wanted. That was the vision, and that was a great moment. One of the greatest moments of the tour and in our whole activism career, so to speak. It was very uplifting and a great moment. And again, that is exactly what I was hoping to achieve in this tour. people who are talking in the street with strangers about procreation, about antinatalism. And it was 2 very intensive days. We kind of had a kind of a break on April 22 on Earth Day. As I said earlier, I picked Paris, a very big city, and very central city in Europe, because I was sure there would be a kind of a climate march in the city, but there wasn't one. I don't know why, and I was really looking for one. So I guess it wasn't the case that I missed it, but there wasn't one. But there was a convention in Sorbonne. I guess the biggest and most familiar and prominent university in Paris. So the 3 of us joined this convention, and I took the opportunity to ask a question.
I have a question in English, if I may.
You may.
Okay, thank you. So, considering we have no clear idea how all this plastic pollution will affect the health of our children in the long term, and this is a serious question, is it fair and right to bring more children to the world? And isn't it actually good that all this plastic pollution damages human fertility? Serious question.
Can we answer in French? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Bon, on
Sure,
va répondre
thank
en
you.
français pour ceux qui n'ont pas compris. Est-ce qu'à partir du moment où le plastique vraiment a une incidence sur nous et sur l'humanité, etc., est-ce que ça ne vaudrait pas le coup que finalement on arrête de faire des enfants, enfin après, ou est-ce que ça vaut vraiment le coup d'être là au vu de la situation? Alors moi, je vais vous donner un avis. Et après, il y a une grande ironie qui peut être effectivement, de toute façon, la fertilité humaine est menacée par le plastique qu'on a produit. Est-ce que c'est un retour de bâton, de boomerang? C'est une question qu'on peut se poser, effectivement. Voilà. Alors, est-ce que quelqu'un veut réagir à ça? Veut dire, est-ce que... Je sais pas, est-ce que quelqu'un dit finalement l'humanité a bien cherché et que pourquoi pas? Ou est-ce que vous voulez juste cette remarque Est-ce que quelqu'un veut-il réagir?
Moi, je veux bien réagir.
Alors, qui veut réagir?
Pierre-Ange Lulicielli.
Super. Pierre-Ange Lulicielli qui va intervenir à la table ronde. Alors, c'est un teaser. Il y a une table ronde à 18h50. Il y aura Pierre-Ange. Alors, Pierre-Ange qui a créé une ONG en Corse sur l'éco-volontariat sur les déchets plastiques. Alors, Pierre-Ange, ta réponse?
Ma réponse, c'est que je ne suis pas d'accord avec le fait que ce soit l'humanité qui l'a bien cherché. C'est une partie de producteurs de plastique qui l'ont bien cherché et qui vont subir les conséquences au reste de la population, notamment à certaines îles, dont la mienne, où on n'a rien demandé et on se fait polluer par le plastique. Donc je trouve qu'au contraire, on devrait être en colère et plutôt lutter et être exigeant, pas lâcher l'affaire et demander réclamer des mesures très très radicales pour lutter au maximum contre cette inondation de plastique qui a des effets délétères et qui ne vaut vraiment pas le coup sur le long terme. Voilà.
Et que ton île, tu as bien envie que des enfants puissent encore la découvrir.
Exactement.
Okay. Merci pour cette réponse. On a 2 questions devant. De ce côté-ci. Alors, relevez vos bras parce qu'il y a une taille en haut. On va peut-être prendre mademoiselle qui est là, et puis après le monsieur. On va peut-être s'arrêter parce que vu qu'on a un peu dégommé les oreilles.
Merci beaucoup pour la présentation. Je m'appelle Yumi Touboué et en ce moment je mène une recherche sur la plastiologie.
I was trying to, that was my attempt to at least put an anti-natalism message out there, along with other claims or issues, environmental issues, because obviously no one talks about procreation or almost all environmental organizations try not to talk about population. So it was a chance to ask a question and just put it out there. Other than that, we were deeply engaged with in outreach events on the street of Paris. It was a great experience. I also really enjoyed the company of the people I spent time with. They hosted me. They made me feel at home. that was a great experience. And just one memorable short conversation with someone, very nice guy, really positive, who approached the outreach and, hey, are you guys pro-choice? That's great. We need people to talk about pro-choice. So I told them, well, yeah, we are pro-choice, but that's not it. We are anti-natalist. We are talking about the ethical aspect of procreation. We're morally opposed to procreation, and kind of setting myself to a pushback. But no, surprisingly, it made him be more excited. He said, "Oh, great! That is even better." So that was a nice surprise, and yeah. But generally speaking, obviously that was kind of exceptional. But generally speaking, in Paris specifically, and in the entire tour, most people are coming with good faith. They're polite, and they are ready to listen, and they're coming with an open mind. So that is very important for me to say, for anyone listening and contemplating about doing outreach or joining other groups. Most of the engagement, most of the comments, and most of the reactions are positive. I'm not saying that most of people agree. Obviously, this is not the case, unfortunately, but they are coming with good faith. Many conversations are people are intellectually honest, asking good questions, in coming from an open and open-minded perspective, and again with good faith. So so it's doable. We can have philosophical, ethical conversations with strangers on the street about antinatalism. It's proven to be something that we can do. So I'm encouraging you to try. In this case, the cliche is right. You don't know until you try, and I'm sure, I'm confident enough to tell you that if you try, if you give it a chance, you will probably find out that you can do it. So for anyone who is concerned or thinking that it's not for me, please just try. Many people told me that they were concerned before contacting me online before the tour even started, or coming to the tour and telling me I want to check how it goes on. I want to listen. I want to stand aside. And that's obviously, I told them, yeah, that's fine. Even if you only stand aside and listen, just see how you feel about it. That's totally fine. You don't have to be actively engaged in the outreach. And all of them, without exception, engaged in the outreach. And almost all of them felt that it's natural for them, and they were doing a great job. So again, I'm encouraging you to try. I'm confident enough to say that you will probably find out that you are fit for the job. It's doable.
Beautifully said. And the photographs from Paris were like very, very uplifting and incredible.
Yeah.
It was really, really wonderful to see you with some familiar faces, and it was obvious that it was a good feeling there, and it was really going beautifully. So fantastic. I'm so happy that the birth of French antinatalism is now fully secured. So, I mean, after France was Belgium, Brussels, and Leuven. Okay, yeah. And Antwerp. So
I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Quite a number of these places I may very well be pronouncing wrong, so I apologize to everyone involved.
Yeah.
But what happened in Belgium?
Well, in Brussels, again, unfortunately, it was a very harsh weather. I had to stop the outreach events 3 times because of rain. So yeah, I tried again and again, but just the rain and the wind, and it was very cold. People weren't very likely to stop and have a conversation. So unfortunately, it wasn't a good visit in Brussels. I had a very nice conversation with a student of psychology who absolutely agreed. Again, didn't know what antinatalism is, but she agreed, and we were talking about the pressure put specifically on women, obviously, to procreate, the social aspect of procreation. So it was a very interesting conversation, which was interrupted by a phone call she got, and I remember saying, "Oh, finally I'm getting a conversation and it is interrupted by the phone." And she told me, I'm sorry, my friend, I'm supposed to be with my friend here. So I had to take that call. And then her friend came, and I was sure that this conversation is ended. But her friend was very supportive. And she was coming to meet her. She saw the sign. Oh, I absolutely agree with that. So both of them agreed, and that was a very nice moment in process. Fortunately, kind of a rare moment. I guess mainly because of the weather. So I feel that Brussels didn't get a fair chance. But yeah, basically unfortunately some in Brussels, more or less the same thing happened in Antwerp. Harsh weather, not a lot of engagement, a few good conversations, but I don't recall something memorable. In Leuven, it was a little bit different. I remember that it was very cold morning, and my suitcase broke, and it was hard for me for some reason to find a university. Leuven. It's a kind of university city. That's why I visited there to begin with, and it's a very international university. So obviously it is an advantage for someone who don't speak Dutch or French. So a lot of English speaking students. And I started the outreach in Leuven, in the Leuven University, in what I thought was a very central square, but not a lot of people engaged again. But I had a great talk with a philosophy student, very positive again, didn't know what anti-natalist was, but was very supportive. And at some point she told me, when the conversation was kind of ended, she told me, "Hey, why won't you move to the philosophy faculty?" And I told her, because I didn't know there is one in Leuven. And she told me, "Well, that is my faculty. Let me accompany to the faculty of philosophy." And I said, "Yeah, sure." And she even helped me collect my fins and move them to the entrance of the faculty of philosophy, and it was great there. I had a lot of conversations, a lot of support, a lot of interesting questions. People were very intellectually honest, very open-minded. I really enjoyed talking to the people there, and I guess Leuven was probably the best outreach I had when I was alone, excluding the outreach event that people were joining. Obviously, they were much better than Paris. But as far as the outreach events that I unfortunately spent myself, Leuven was really the best. At some point, a teacher asked me to take a photo with me, like kind of hugging me, and I was kind of asking me how you are a supporter, and told me I'm actually teaching better than ever to have been in my course. So that was a great moment as well. So yeah, because it was very fast. That he caught it very fast what it's about. He knew what antinatalism is, obviously. So this is the explanation. He's teaching antinatalism, or at least population ethics, and as part of population ethics, he teaches better than ever been. So yeah, all in all, not the best part of the tour, Belgium in general, but Leuven was pretty good.
That's awesome. I actually didn't know that about the professor coming up to you and everything. So that's very cool. Who would have thought in Leuven you'd have that kind of experience? So yeah, fascinating.
Right.
So you finished it in Belgium, and it's interesting, like, because Belgium is one of the places, Théophile de Guerreau, in 2006, it was one of the places where this whole thing began, really. So it's interesting that there isn't more anti-natalism there, but I think you've planted some seeds for its further development. So from Belgium, then you visited the Netherlands, and you went to Rotterdam and Amsterdam. What was it like in those places?
Right. Well, again, no, this is on me. This is not. I can't blame luck. The weather was very harsh in Rotterdam and Amsterdam, but I didn't realize that I'm reaching Holland on a holiday it's called the King's Day, and so the university in Rotterdam, it's a big university, was deserted, absolutely deserted. So it was a waste of morning. And however, the upside, the benefit of me visiting Rotterdam on a holiday is that there were a lot of people on the street. So I was standing in a very high street, very busy street, and got tons of exposure, thousands upon thousands of people being exposed to the signs, and it was pretty good. One memorable conversation in Rotterdam, a very long conversation, about 1 hour and a half, conversation with two guys who also have a podcast. They will be starting in the summer, and they wanted to do a live recording with me. This is how they are conducting their podcast. So I explained to them that I'm touring, and I'm not even from Europe. So they agreed to do a kind of an online, a virtual meeting with me in the summer when they will start. So I really hope that they will contact me at some point in the summer, because they were very open. I mean, they are not anti-natalist, but they are very open-minded, and they are very well. They think it's a very interesting and positive idea. So that's a great start. At least the conversation won't be very hostile, even if there will be some pushbacks, which is obviously fine. So I'm really expecting that. I wish they will contact me. So again, they just happened to bump into me. We were at the same time, at the same place at the same time. It's a coincidence, and again, it's a kind of a motive, an incentive to put yourself out there, because sometimes good things can happen. And so that is something very positive that happened in Rotterdam. In Amsterdam, it was the eve of the King's Day. I was trying to do an outreach in the evening, and I didn't know that part of the thing in the King's Day, it's the day that you are allowed to drink yourself to, I don't know, losing conscience, to be absolutely wasted. You are formally allowed to do that. So I was, and people took that permission to the full of it. So a lot of totally wasted people on the streets. So I was thinking, that's not. I'm not sure it's the time for rational arguments. I should have brought condoms, not signs, with me, because yeah. So it wasn't the perfect time for an outreach, and generally speaking, in Amsterdam it was very cold, and it wasn't the perfect set because of the holiday and because of the weather. On Sunday in noon and morning, I spent my day in Dam Square. It's the biggest square in Amsterdam, and it's a set on Sundays for various and many all kinds of political initiatives, including people who are against the UN, people who are trying to raise awareness about women persecution in Iran, political minorities being harassed in China, obviously the war in Gaza, obviously Israeli people being, I don't know, supportive of the war, but against the opposition to the war. So I decided that antinatalism has a place in Times Square among all these political initiatives. And I was trying to tell people that there's only one call, only one political statement, moral statement that can end all the problems that all these people are trying to fight against. And that is to stop creating more people. I can't think of a more radical and more assured and safe way to prevent all the harms that all the people are causing, and kind of, make all these political initiatives pointless or useless or redundant. So that was Dam Square, and basically that, I think, more or less sums the Dutch part of the tour. I just because of the political initiative, I just recalled an interesting thing that happened in Antwerp. If it's okay to share it. So when I finished the evening outreach in Antwerp, I heard a march, like drums and chanting. So the first intuition is I should join them, as long as it's, I don't know, a neo-Nazi march or something like that, or another racist march. I should join them. And it appeared that it's Flemish people, Flanders, I think they're called, calling. I think it was not to I think that Belgium will not have a secession, or for independence. I'm not sure what was the call, because I don't speak Dutch, but it was Flemish people marching, so I joined them. I didn't have I guess that the best sign I could use to join the march was people are causing a lot of suffering. It's kind of a joker. It's always right to any kind of political initiative, and I had an anti-natalist shirt, so I joined the march, and the marcher really liked the sign and the shirt, so it was very nice. They were very supportive and positive. The police wasn't. The police didn't like my presence. I don't know why. At some point, a police, I guess it was an undercover policeman, because he wasn't on uniform, but he was accompanied by two other police persons on uniform, and he was kind of affirmatively grabbing me by my elbow and telling me, "You're not continuing. You're not coming with us." A little bit aggressively. So I didn't want to get arrested. That's not the point of the tour. So I stayed put. But later I decided that I heard the march, the sound of the march not getting any further. Sorry, I forgot the word, but anyway, I figured that they stopped, that they reached their point where they are gathering. So I decided, okay, they have no reason to kick me out of the gathering. It's on the street. So I tried to rejoin them, but I was again kicked by the police. They were asking for my details and the passport. So yeah, I refused to give it to them. Anyway, to cut a long and story short, I had to leave this place. But it was a very positive outreach. As long as all the marchers saw the shirt and the sign, so I'm glad I joined, and yeah, that was a nice and an efficient moment in Antwerp that I forgot. So yeah, sorry.
No. It's good. It's good that you know, and all activists should know, like there is a time to relent sometimes. It's like to not get in trouble. It wouldn't have been worth it, for that instance by any means.
Absolutely.
So that's good. Well, it's an interesting time you had in the Netherlands. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Kind of funny, well, I mean, it's a shame about the weather and the drunk people, but you made a positive time of it nonetheless. So now, unless I'm mistaken, from there you had the first of 2 trips to Germany. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on this part of the German and leg of the tour, you visited Cologne, Frankfurt,
Right.
Stuttgart, Munich, and Vienna. And in Vienna, you met the wonderful Lawrence Anton and and quite a lot of amazing antinatalists. So tell me about this first. Well, and obviously there's more to the German story that we'll get to in a little bit. Honestly, I'm not, besides Lawrence and Kareem, I'm not sure like who you met where and when. Except for Hamburg and Vienna. So I'm probably mistaken about some, who else was there when. But yeah. So tell me all about the first part of the German leg of the tour.
Yeah. So I started from the kind of north and western part of Germany, because I was coming from Holland, and it started in Cologne. And in Cologne, I met the great Grigor. more accurately, the great Grigor, because it's very tall.
Right.
And Grigor is the king of the tour, as far as I'm concerned. Grigor took a 3-day vacation from work to join the tour.
I
remember
forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah, it took an activism vacation to join me in Köln, and Frankfurt and Stuttgart, and he's not from any of these cities. He lives in a smaller town somewhere between Stuttgart and Frankfurt, and decided to join me to all 3 of them. And Gregory is amazing. He's very patient. He's a soft-spoken person. He speaks slowly, and he's very persistent. So it's kind of the perfect match for philosophical debates. And at some point I was noticing that no matter what was the kind of the pace, the rhythm of the people who engage with us, once they're talking with Grigor, they kind of taking it one notch down, and the conversation are much calmer, and Grigor managed to have much longer conversation, I think, than any other person who joined me. I think partly because of his approach. He's very positive. He thinks that it's very important to be very positive, which something that we share. My approach is also that we never. I never compromise. I'm talking about anti-natalism. I'm using anti-natalist arguments. I'm never talking about child-free or overpopulation or environmental causes. I'm talking about anti-natalism, but I'm trying to do it calmly, positively, and smilingly. And so Grigor is more or less the same approach. And again, it's very important for him. So we were a perfect match in that sense. And the visit in Köln was great because some university campuses are now more or less 4 major structures of universities. One huge building where all the student life happens inside the building, so it's not really relevant for an outreach because all the students hang out inside the building, which is not approachable for me. I would be kicked out in an instance. Another is a very fragmented campus, meaning all kinds of campuses in all kinds of parts of the cities, which obviously is not suitable for an outreach. Or a street, meaning a whole street, meaning the faculties are in all kinds of buildings on the same street, which is perfect because for an outreach, because the students hang out on the streets. So every time I notice that this is the structure of the university, I'm really glad. And in Köln, it's another great structure because there is a big square. It's kind of it's not fenced, but it's kind of well, never mind. It's all kinds of buildings that are circling a big square, and the philosophy faculty is in front of the square. So obviously, this is the place we chose to put our signs and to do the outreach, and we had a lot of engagement there. Every student that speaks English was my job, and everyone that prefers to speak German was a Grigor's part. And Grigor talked with a lot of students, and that was really great in Köln. I don't recall any other any specific memorable, or just it just was very positive and constructive. I don't recall something specific that is worth mentioning, but all in all, one of the more positive and constructive outreach events. Obviously, because someone joined me for the whole day, and because the outreach and the conversations themselves were pretty good. And Grigor decided to print some of the signs, some of the slogans in German. And so in Frankfurt and Stuttgart, we placed them along with the English one that I've pre-made back home and took me to the tour. So we had leaflets in German and signs, and another person who joined us in Stuttgart to the march made another sign in German. So we had a bunch of German signs from all the cities in Germany, and I visited 8 cities in Germany and Vienna. which was another German-speaking city, so 9 overall. So it was very beneficial to have material in German. So that was great of Grigor. Another great thing that Grigor has done. So I was unfortunately me and Grigor had to split at some point in Stuttgart. I told him, look, Grigor, I know it's a long ride for you because Germany it's a huge country, like the biggest in Europe. I know it's kind of 5 hours a train from where you live to Hamburg, but I think you should come to Hamburg. I think it will be very special there, and you will enjoy it. And obviously, Gregor took that offer and came to Hamburg, and I think he had a great time there. When I will talk about Hamburg, I'll probably mention it as well. But yeah, so yeah, that's the great Gregor. It was amazing to spend 3 whole days with him. I really enjoyed the march in Stuttgart. I made a sign saying, "Don't create more wage slaves," to kind of be aligned to fit the event, not to crush it, but kind of merge, because it was the International Workers' Day, and it was a good march, regardless of the reactions. Just I enjoyed the march in itself. Very colorful, a lot of people, and great message, and they had done an event with a lot of information stands and outreach events of themselves for all kinds of calls, and we joined them. We had an outreach event of ourselves there. So yeah, Stuttgart was again another good experience, similar to Köln. And later in the evening, we went to the high street, to the main street of Stuttgart, and it was quite good there as well. And the other guy who joined us, Hans is his name. I think it's one of the people who wasn't sure how it's going to work for him, and he was a natural, so that was great. I really hope that he will join Grigor for more outreach events, and so yeah, and in Frankfurt, which again Grigor joined me as well. It was also pretty good. We didn't have a lot of time in Frankfurt for all kinds of technical issues. I didn't find a train or a bus that allowed me to stay here for longer, but it was a good use of the few hours we had. And again, we had nice conversations with people. Grigor was very happy with all his engagement with local people, except one conversation with 2 devoted Christians who I don't know a word in German, so I didn't know what's going on. It was a very long conversation, but at some point they kind of put their hands on his shoulders. So I realized that they're praying, and I was hoping they're not praying for him, but with him. But later he told me that they were praying for him because they were really hoping that he will ditch antinatalism and become to be a good Christian. No way. Grigor is antinatalist for life. So yeah, that was Frankfurt, Stuttgart, and Köln. Unfortunately, my experience in Munich wasn't good at all. It was very cold, very windy, very rainy, and I was a little bit sick because of the harsh weather. Not terrible, but I was trying to do an outreach event either way because I wanted to give Munich a try. So I wasn't really pushing it, but I really wanted to give it a try. So I went to the university, to the main entrance, and I was kicked out from the university. Later, I was being told by many Germans anti-natalist Germans that joined me that it's Bavaria. They are very strict. They're a bit harsh. And I was trying to negotiate with the police because they were saying that I'm taking too much public space. So I said, okay, I won't use 5 signs. I'll use 2. No, you are still taking the bench. So I told them, okay, I will put the signs on the floor. No, you are still in public place. No, so I don't want to go on for the whole negotiation, but it didn't go well. However, they gave me a great tip. They asked me, hey, are you part of the demonstration that will take place here later on? So I was asking, what demonstration? They told me the pro-Palestinian, the demonstration against the war. So I was telling them no, but in my mind I said, hell yes, I'm into it right now, because that was, you know, kind of the last chance for me to do something beneficial, something efficient in Munich. So I didn't want to miss that opportunity. So I joined the short march and the demonstration. Obviously, with the sign, people are causing a lot of suffering, because I didn't have the slogans, the signs that I'm using in Israel in demonstration against the wars. I'm using more or less free slogans, translated into wars will end when procreation will end. Another one is I don't remember, it's written down for me. So don't condemn future generations to struggle that never really end. And the only operation that will end all operations is an operation to end all procreations. It sounds better in Hebrew, but it can work in English as well. So I didn't have any of these because I wasn't expecting to participate a demonstration against the war or a war. So I was using the people wasn't out of suffering, the Joker, and I got some attention. What was well, considering the state I was and the state of the weather in Munich, it wasn't bad. So yeah. That's the sums the case for the first part of the German tour, and yeah, Vienna. Well, the Vienna was obviously one of the best parts of the tour because I met the great Colin and the great Lawrence Anton, obviously, who joined me to Vienna, but the day started awful. Because unfortunately, one slip of an elbow, one mistake that I pour a full glass of water on my computer and it was destroyed.
Yeah.
And at that point, that was really awful. I needed the computer for a bunch of things during the tour. Obviously, it was only at the middle of the tour, even the first third of the tour. So that was awful. And I was sure that I lost all the recordings that I have managed to make until that point because the computer was destroyed. Fortunately, Lawrence was amazing with recording and to figure out the situation because I told them, and so he took a lot of recordings and he managed to get some great conversations.
I mean, if no one procreates, we will, as a species, will die.
Right. This is not the goal, but this is the outcome. This is the. If everyone would agree, eventually the human species will cease to exist. But I'm sorry that I will reply with a question, but try to tell me what's wrong with that. Seriously. I know it sounds like a provocative question, but I'm totally serious. What's wrong with human extinction? People don't think about it, but because look, I'll help you a little bit. I will give you a little push, and then you will take the lead. If there will be no more people anymore, there will also be no more people who will miss the people, or all human phenomena, even if you think it's positive, never mind if you think it's negative or positive. In any case, there will be no more humans who will miss it. So I don't see it as a bad thing.
Do you take it from a economic stance or like ecological, like from like in terms of the planet, does it need any more people?
Well, various anti-natalists have various perspectives, and each of us has his own main motive. Some of us are more aligned with the ecological perspective, as you mentioned, or the economic perspective that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Me personally, this is my motivation, that people are causing a lot of suffering. That is to other humans, to other animals, and
so
to the environment. So, yeah. So,
and is this just you just set this up, this is just something that you feel strongly about and you just like decided that you're gonna...
Actually, me personally, I'm on a tour, a European tour, to promote antinatalism. Antinatalism, by the way, this is the term for being against a moral opposition to the creation of new people.
Yeah.
Later on, I figured that I kind of saved the materials. So I have all the recordings and the footage and everything that I saved before the computer was destroyed. Basically, I looked for a second-hand computer store. I found one in Vienna. I got the same brand, the same type of computer, and I just switched the hard drives, and it worked. So the hard drive is not damaged, but the computer is destroyed. I couldn't say it.
Lucky,
so anyway,
lucky
sorry,
everything got saved.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So Lawrence came to the savior, and later on I figured that that the recordings are saved anyway. But so obviously it was great to spend time with Colin, just a great guy, and with Lawrence for 2 intensive days in Vienna. We had a lot of engagement. Like in many other cities, it's sometimes the case that the beginning of the days are quite slow because some of the locations are not that good and we need to change it. But from some point on, it was really good. We spent most of the time in a park that was quite busy. It was a Saturday and Sunday, so a lot of people came to the park, and it was pretty good. Obviously, one of the best times I had in the tour. I hope that Colin and Lawrence feel the same.
I'm sure they do. The footage that I've seen from Vienna was just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So lovely. Well, so from that first and very successful part of the German tour, you went to the Czech Republic, Prague. Just one stop in Czech Republic, and so how did that go?
Unfortunately, quite awful. Again, just unlucky with the weather. It was constantly raining, and I know Prague is pretty cold and it's raining. It's often raining, but and it's in Eastern Europe. But I was there in the middle of May, and this is not very common. I've been told by the guy who joined me there. He's called Matt. He's a great guy. He helped me a lot, and thanks to Matt, we did manage to do at least one good outreach event because it was constantly raining. That was very disappointing. Oh, and sorry, in the first hours I spent in Prague, it wasn't raining. I would just kick out of the street, and this is so random. And this is something that it's really important to tell people who contemplating doing or planning to do outreach events and street activism. Sometimes it's so random. The engagement with the police. 3 police cars kind of drove by the outreach, and only the 4th decided for some reason that I shouldn't be there. I don't know why. The first ones just couldn't care less, just drove, look, okay, everything is okay here, and just mind their own business. And for some reason, nothing was different. It wasn't that I was in the middle of an argument with someone on the street. I have no idea why. Just random. So maybe it's better that if you can, if you are not sure that you are allowed, to try to get a permit, a written permit. So So in the evening of the last day I spent in Prague, the second day, Matt thought of a good place to do the outreach. Nevertheless, and that was really nice, and again encouraging and uplifting that he really insisted, kind of thinking, we should find a way, and just kind of thinking to himself, where can we do that? And then he followed a place that's very touristic, quite busy. Again, it was cold and rainy, so it was only for a short while, and there weren't that many people walking by. But at least we have done something, and I'm really glad that Matt insisted, and I'm really glad we had the opportunity. I'm really glad that Matt had the chance to talk to people about co-creation, which was his first time. That's the most important thing, obviously. Not that I will speak with people, but that local people will speak with local people. So I'm really glad about that. So the Prague visit ended on a positive note, even though it was a little bit hard because of the weather. So yeah, that was the Czech part, and from there back to Germany, the second round of Germany.
Yeah, the second round of Germany, which I'm so excited to hear all about, because this is, so much amazing stuff happened in this leg of the German tour. Dresden, Leipzig, I always forget to say that correctly. I'm sorry. Berlin, and Hamburg, which was, just cannot wait to hear all about.
Well, I think the name of the city is Leipzig, and that's temporary. That you will never forget Leipzig. Because the correct way or the chronological way is to start with Dresden, but I will just say to kind of give never mind, I forgot the word, but Leipzig is the greatest success of the two, undoubtedly. Maybe it's temporary because another place that I will reach in a while. Because it's the end of the tour, but so Leipzig is currently the most successful city in the tour. But before Leipzig, I visited Dresden, which it wasn't a bad experience. The outfit was pretty good, but Dresden is one of the cities that the whole point of the tour is that people will join me, and so because the official forward and the whole point is that is trying to initiate grassroots activism groups, Anti-Natalism Activism Street, right? So in every city that no one joins me, even if the outreach was quite good, it's not bad at all. It's positive, but it just doesn't serve the official point. And Dresden is an example because it wasn't bad at all. But I had some positive conversations there. But once no one joins me, it's kind of misses the point. So I'll talk very, very shortly about Dresden. Just one. Maybe it's too much personal, but one conversation that I will probably not forget is because under no other circumstances I would get the chance to talk for half an hour with a guy from Syria, and it wasn't the only time that I was speaking with people that under no other circumstances they will agree probably to talk with someone from Israel, even though I will love to talk with them, but I'm not sure it's mutual. And this guy didn't know I'm from Israel, so he was glad to talk to me. Great conversation, very positive, very open to antinatalism. Not an antinatalist. He wasn't convinced, not at all, but still a good talk. We kind of shook hand, and he was appreciating the effort. And yeah, so I'm sorry, maybe it's a little bit too personal, but it was great to talk with someone from Syria for me. So yeah.
I can imagine it would be. No, I'm thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a very nice moment. Just to have the opportunity. So yeah, that's all I can say about Dresden. And now Leipzig. So far the best city in the tour. Why? Today, Tom, who I met in Leipzig, sent me a photo of him doing an outreach event yesterday in Leipzig, an anti-natalism outreach event in Leipzig. And that was the second time since the tour that the two activists that I met in Leipzig, which is Tom and Sebastian, did an outreach event. And that's exactly what I wanted. That's exactly what I wished for in the tour. That after the tour is ending, people will just do their own thing, do anti-natalism advocacy, do street anti-natalism activism by themselves, on their own. And it was pretty clear that Tom will do that more or less from the moment I got to know him. We had dinner together. By the way, that's an interesting story. For me, I think it's not an interesting story for him because I made a mistake in the posters, in the dates of the posters that I posted Facebook events on Facebook with posters, and I had a mistake with the dates of Leipzig. So Tom reached, he drove all the way from Leipzig. He's not from Leipzig. He drove for 2 hours to Leipzig to the outreach event, and he was looking for me. And I was in Dresden doing an outreach event. because I made a mistake, and I'm really, really sorry, Tom. But Tom is so great. He waited for me for hours to meet me in the evening, and we had a great dinner in a vegan restaurant run by cats. It's called the Temple of the Cats, and there are cats all over the place. Amazing place in Leipzig, in the center of Leipzig. And that was so great of Tom. So kind of generous, so patient. I'm so grateful for him waiting for me. And we kind of talked about anti-natalist advocacy, and I figured that Tom has a lot of experience with anti-natalism, animal rights activism, but it was his first time doing anti-natalism activism, but he was very excited about it. He's an anti-natalist for a long time. I was sure that if we have a good outreach the next day, he will be into it. He will try to organize anti-natalism outreach events, and he has. It was a good day. We spent the whole day, more or less the whole day, in the park and a little bit in the train station because I had to take a train to my next destination. We had a good day. Both of them, Sebastian and Tom, had a lot of conversations with people in German, obviously. So yeah, good outreach, great people, and there is a continuance, which is a dream come true for me. Again, exactly what I wanted. I really hope they will continue, that their outreach events will be successful. So yeah, again, I couldn't hope for more than what is happening right now in Leipzig. So I'm really happy about Leipzig. Oh, by the way, in the photo, they are placing a table and chairs, and they come talk to me or try to convince me, and they are using "Stop Having Kids" signs that they translated to German.
Oh,
so,
I did see.
Yeah, they are
that.
really
That's
into
right.
it.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. They're doing a great job, and yeah, I'm sure that they will have a stable street activism in Leipzig or around Leipzig.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I never would have thought because I never have heard of antinatalism happening in Leipzig before this.
Yeah.
So incredible. It's just incredible. We're like, where you find some healthy antinatalism, and that's great news. So from Leipzig, you went to Berlin. Is that the course of things?
Yes. I went to Berlin. I had high expectations about Berlin. Leipzig was the greatest surprise, and I was expecting Barcelona, Amsterdam, and Berlin to be the best cities, except Hamburg, which I knew it would be great in Hamburg. That was for sure. But I was expecting the other one that I just mentioned to be great. So Leipzig was a great surprise. And by the way, Tom heard about the tour 2 days before I came to Leipzig, which makes it even more amazing and makes Tom even more amazing. Yeah, Tom is great. And Sebastian as well. A natural, by the way. Sebastian is a natural. Berlin, not a best experience. I visited 3 different campuses. All of them were in the structure of one big building, so pointless to do an outreach there, just talking to a building. One of them was closed. I don't know why. The campus was closed. I'm not sure why. I checked. It's supposed to be open. I have no idea. So I went to a busy street, and I had 4 really frustrating conversations. I'll do it very, very short. One with a very devoted Christian, another with another devoted Christian who insisted that we can't have a valid ethical system without a God. We need God to validate our ethical system. I was trying to explain to them, but we don't. But there is no God, and we have to act ethically. In fact, we have no choice but to act. Everything is ethical because everything is meaningful. We can't avoid acting in an ethical sphere, in an ethical sense. So we have to find some kind of system that we can construct ethical behavior upon. But yeah, it was very frustrating. He insisted upon God. Another guy who insisted that I'm unconsciously and unintentionally I'm helping the 1%. Because the 1%ers don't want us to procreate. I have no idea why. Because they're extremely capitalist. So they want more workers and more consumers. I don't know why he was arguing that the 1% don't want us to procreate. So very weird, very frustrating, and a long conversation. And the last one was with a very devoted Muslim, which was very nice, very polite, but he wanted to talk about Islam, not about procreation. So yeah, very frustrating outage in Berlin. Sorry, I'm getting way too much into it. The second day, I met another Tom, and he wasn't sure if he wants to join me, and I was telling him, just try, see how it goes, and he did. And we're kind of going back and forth, and so just try, stand aside, listen, and I think he enjoyed it. I think he's very happy that he came. We went to the biggest square in Berlin called Alexanderplatz. A lot of engagement, a lot of exposure. Both of us had the opportunity to talk to people. So Berlin, like many other cities, ended on a very positive note, despite a very harsh start. So all in all, a little bit disappointing because I had high expectations, but not that bad. And yeah, the thing about Germany, before I am reaching the capital antinatalist city in the world, Hamburg, is that Germany is a very big country. Sorry, and it's kind of structured, geographically structured, in a way that the center is, there are not that many big cities in the center, but kind of a lot of cities around in a kind of a circle. So there are all kinds of hubs. There is Berlin, which is more or less in the north center, Köln in the east, Leipzig in the west, in the east. Sorry, Köln in the west, and Leipzig in the east. Sorry, and Stuttgart and Frankfurt in the south, and Hamburg in the north, and they're all quite distant from one another. So it's not very realistic that people will join each other's outage events. And that's really unfortunate because I'm sure that if distances were smaller, the places were nearer, or more people were living in the same areas and wasn't so fragmented, we would see a lot of anti-natalism activism in Germany right now. Because there are very prominent figures in all kinds of places. And so, I mean, it's also it's an advantage, obviously, because then we can have, 4 locations of anti-natalism street activism in Germany. But I guess as a start, if all these places were near, we would see much more activism. So, that's not something that we can control.
Well, it wasn't easy being an antinatalist in Germany for a long time. It seems like it's really only been recently that it's become more and more possible. I mean, so it's great. I'm glad to. I mean, yes, geographically, there's definitely it's a bit unfortunate, but at least it's where it's happening. It appears to be quite strong.
Absolutely.
So that's great. Yeah. So Hamburg.
In terms of people who have joined me, and in terms of people who we engage with. So in both cases, Germany is very promising. And speaking of promising, Hamburg, I can't even say that Hamburg was, kind of met the expectations. It was way beyond my expectations. I mean, Leipzig, Milan, Stuttgart, and Köln were great. Hamburg was, and Paris, of course, but Hamburg was beyond my expectations. In the second day, I spent 2 days in Hamburg. In the second day, there were 10 of us in the outage event. 10. I was never expecting a double-digit anti-natalist activist in the first outage, as far as I know, the first outage in Hamburg, in the city. Amazing, and including Chris, who joined us on the first day, and obviously Karima Kerma, who had the pleasure to meet on the second day. Absolutely amazing guy. And another person, which I'm not sure he wanted to be mentioned by name, so there was another one with us on the first day. So all in all, we were 13 anti-natalist activists all in all in Hamburg. That's amazing.
That's incredible.
Again,
that's absolutely incredible.
Beyond my expectations. Yeah.
Now let me ask you.
Yes,
I mean, no, I don't mean to interrupt, but let me ask you. Like, it seemed like, and you may have said this in a video somewhere, so I apologize if I'm just forgetting. But like, did you guys get like a permit to be where you were on the street there? Because it seemed like there was a lot of like tolerance, like for this big group of antinatalists to like, have like a microphone, and like Karim was playing live music, and like it just looked incredible. So yeah, I was curious about like what kind of arrangements were made ahead of time to make that magic happen.
Yeah, that's a great question. And an opportunity for me to really thank from the bottom of my heart for a person that arranged all the things behind the scene, and he did a great job. For the first time that person heard about the tour, he told me, "I'm your guy. I will help you. You are arranged in Hamburg." So yeah, that was amazing. I think that person doesn't want to be mentioned by name, so I would just say that he knows who he is, and he has done a great job making sure that we have permission, that everything is settled, and then that people join and set up the meetup, the social meetup, and yeah, was responsible for everything behind the scenes, and he was really great. I enjoyed his company and his help, and really thankful. So yeah, again, thank you very much. And he invited Karim, which was, I guess, one of the best moments of the tour.
Absolutely.
Yeah. At some point, Karim was standing next to me, and we are just having a casual conversation. He was asking me about activism in Israel, how and why did I started, about reactions, about the tour, where I'm heading next, and I was obviously replying. And at some point, I'm saying, I'm just having a casual conversation with Karim Akerma right now. This is amazing. I never pictured that when I first thought about the tour, and standing right next to him when he's saying his song "Better Never to Be Born" or to have been, and yeah, and he invited me to make kind of a speech to invite people to come to the outreach, and yeah, amazing experience.
Hello everyone, we are anti-natalists, and you probably don't know this word or this term. You never heard about it. We are inviting you to come and talk to us about anti-natalism, which is basically a moral opposition to cooperation, a moral opposition to the creation of new people. We would like you to come and talk to us. That's why we are here today in this outreach event. I'm speaking in English because I don't know German, but we have people here who can talk to you in German if you would like, or talk to me in English. We are here exactly for this purpose. We think it's the most important issue in the world, and we'll be glad if you come here and talk to us. We will explain to you why we think so. Thank you.
Never to have been at and heard. Cause to exist you are stuck inside a world of wonder and of dirt. Beauty doesn't compensate for pain. See the flowers in the mud. Supposed to bring joy into someone's life. Never act in such a way that somebody dies as a consequence. This will happen by the way, should ever you decide to procreate. Today it ends, tomorrow comes cancer. Your children see you perish and die. Never to have been at and heard. We don't pre-exist and wait in line in order to come to the earth. Transitions from limbo into life. Procreation means to prolong An unfolding story of self-deceit. Nobody wanted to exist. Once you are there, you've got to stick to it. Today a dancer, tomorrow comes cancer. Your children see you perish and die, never to have been had and heard. We don't pre-exist and wait in line in order to come to the earth. Transitions from limbo into life. Procreation means to prolong an unfolding story of self-deceit. Nobody wanted to exist. Once you are there, you've got to stick to it. Yesterday's dancer, today has cancer. Sees children come and stand by. You told your children you would care, but as of today you're no longer there, never to have been had and heard. All the flowers ending in the dirt.
There is a lot of suffering in the world. There is no reason to create more people who will need more resources, time and attention. We are in favor of dealing with the problems that already exist, with those who already need us because they already exist, instead of creating new people who will need us, and therefore we will not be able to address all those who already need us now because they already exist. It doesn't make sense to create more needs when there are already so many. And doing it just because we want to is selfish. We urge people to make decisions on a moral basis and not on a selfish basis. And that means giving priority to those who already need us over those who don't exist and therefore don't need anything. It has long been time to acknowledge the harsh reality that problems are not going to be solved soon and that new ones are likely to appear. From the dawn of history until now, tens of thousands of initiatives, legislations, organizations, and institutions have arisen to change and correct a multitude of injustices all over the world. Very few, if any, of the problems that these initiatives were set up to address have been resolved. Of course, what we are saying is not that we should give up confronting them, but exactly the opposite. We need to devote all our available resources to solving them instead of reproducing, which is actually a decision to invest almost all of our resources in something that did not require anything before our decision and most likely contributed to the perpetuation of many problems in the world. The time has come to recognize that reproduction is part of the problem, and in too many ways. By directing resources to new problems created precisely because of reproduction instead of existing problems, and by creating more people who will be vulnerable to the multitude of problems in the world and take part in increasing and perpetuating the multitude of problems in the world. Reproduction is to create more victims of a cruel and harmful world and more victimizers in a cruel and harmful world. The fact that reproduction is a natural act and such an accepted and popular decision doesn't change this fact. As long as we don't acknowledge the main sources of the world's problems, we will certainly not be able to improve it. We are asking people to rethink the issue of reproduction. Most people reproduce without giving it any thought. This is despite the fact that it's the most crucial decision in the life of the person they create. We don't tell anyone what to do. We ask people to give up their desire to create new people and consider alternatives such as adopting children, adopting dogs or cats, living in community structures that are not necessarily familial, and etc. We are calling to normalize the choice not to reproduce, and for more reasons, normalizing the position that opposes the creation of new people. This is anti-natalism.
And again, there were many of us on that evening, and even more On the second day, absolutely amazing experience. And as I told the Hamburg, I'm sorry, I apologize for all the Parisians, but as I told the Hamburg people, you beat the crap out of Paris. Yeah, so yeah, Hamburg is the capital.
I mean,
I
have to admit, when I saw Kareem in those videos, I actually screamed a little bit because I was like, "Oh my god, you could not have got."
I actually screamed and I was standing right next to him.
I don't blame you. I mean, it goes without saying, I absolutely adore Kareem. And just like it's just a magical moment that he was able to be there. Had you ever been in contact with him before this? Like, have you read any of his? Well, there's only one book in English, but I mean, like what was your familiarity with Kareem Akerma before like meeting him in this event?
Yeah, I knew him. I read 2 of his articles. I haven't yet read his book. So I knew him. I know more or less where he stands. I know he's into a little bit of the history of antinatalism, and a very important part that plays, so a huge part, obviously, but he's trying to make the argument. He's making the argument that there is no religious imperative to procreate, as far as I understand. So that's a great contribution as well, because a lot of religious people are making the counter argument to antinatalism, that they have a religious imperative to procreate. So if we have better arguments, better counter arguments to this counter argument, we have better tools to engage, to argue with religious people. So yeah, I know that it's something that interests you. Yeah, so I never contacted him before the tour. A little bit after, but yeah, but maybe it happen in the future, and I will sure will read this book. I because of the tour and once I'm starting to do a very intensive activism, unfortunately I don't have the time to read, and that's very unfortunate, because when I started, I just stopped all activism and I only read, and when I started activism, I done only activism and stopped reading. So I need to find the balance.
It's hard to juggle.
There are a lot of, right? Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there are so many great materials published all the time. But I don't know if you heard about it, but there's only recently there was a book about antinatalism, a book explicitly about antinatalism. Have you heard about it, Amanda?
Yes,
a book
I
about
have.
antinatalism. You have, yeah. I'm glad that
maybe this one over here. I don't know. No, it does ring a bell.
Yeah,
it
I'm
does
really
a bell.
excited. Yeah, and I actions to read it. I have to find the time. And there is the next couple of months will be very intensive for me. Maybe I'll talk about it a little bit later. But so and then I want to do kind of a halt and read. I have a lot of catching up to do. In all kinds of spheres. The great cosmic Anti-natalist is doing a weekly report, so to speak, about antinatalism, and is mentioning so many great things. I really want to go over all of them. He's doing a great job.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And he's mentioning a lot of great materials that are published all the time, and I want to read them. And yeah, I need to find a balance. Yeah, sorry, but yeah, we were in Hamburg.
No. Well, first off, I absolutely, in any situation, love to hear a shout out to Tejas, because he does extremely important work. So everybody, yeah, link below to where you can find Tejas's videos. It's an incredible resource on the happenings, the news of anti-natalism, and it's a great way for people to keep abreast of what's going on. But listen, I mean, with all the touring that you're doing, like it's probably a good idea that, like, you squirrel away as many books and articles as possible, because, like, at some point, man, you're gonna need to rest. You must be exhausted. Like, I don't know how you have maintained. You've done an incredible job. Let me just say, of like maintaining yourself throughout this whole experience. Because I gotta tell you, like, I would be half dead by this point in the tour. Like I can. I
am half dead right now.
You look very much alive. I mean, like, I'm just saying, and the whole time you were going through the tour, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just saying, like, I would love to be doing what you're doing. Like, I'd love to be out on the road spreading antinatalism, and it like put that in me to like, yeah, I mean, I should try to do it. But like, man, I don't know that I have it in me. It takes real mental and physical stamina to do what you are doing and have done. So, huge respect to you for that.
Wow, thank you very much.
But yeah, definitely take some
you.
time to just relax and read eventually.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, it's very important. I want to be updated with everything that happens in the community.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have to find the balance, or to take a stop and then find the balance. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, you gotta first like be the news and then catch up on the news.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's a good order of operations for sure. Well, I hope that you will eventually visit Hamburg again, because I feel like, even though they're like on their own, they're doing a great job developing their antinatalist community. It definitely seems like some help from Nimrod is always a good thing to push it even further. So yeah, absolutely. So amazing. Thank you for all the news from all these places, but Hamburg as well. So let's visit Denmark. What was Denmark like?
Yeah. The first three cities were Kolding, Aarhus, and Odense, which I probably pronouncing all of them wrong. I spent.
I was going to say Copenhagen is the only one I know. I had to say for sure.
Yeah. So no one joined me in any of them. At least, someone joined me spontaneously in Kolding. It's a small town, so the outreach was, respectively, kind of slow. But at some point, a young woman on the skateboard saw the signs and just asked me what it's about, and she just immediately catch it and immediately decided that she wants to join me. And she was just standing with me and joined the conversations. That was amazing. She spent a little bit more than an hour with me, just doing an outreach, and she just heard about anti-natalism. That's amazing. And at some point, that's a little bit more of a personal story, but I think it's worth mentioning. I will do it very short. At some point, she noticed a woman she knows. I think it's a houseless woman. She knows it from the city and from the street. And she went to talk to her. I was continuing with my outreach, and at some point, both of them approached me. And this woman, it's not easy for her to walk, and she still made the effort, because the younger woman, the one who joined me, told her what I'm doing there and what it's all about, and she was really touched. So it was very important for her, even though it wasn't easy, to come to tell me thanks and to give me kind of support, and to ask me if I want food or water, or if I need something. It's a houseless person.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it was so really, it really touched my heart. It was such an amazing. I'm sorry, maybe it's a little bit personal in the sense of not really a part of the outreach, but
it's
very
meaningful.
Maybe in a way it is, because sometimes people relate to you and connect to you because they realize they're doing something positive, even though they're not sure they agree or they are anti-natalist themselves. And I think that was it. So yeah, that was a great moment that I wanted to share. Great lady, great heart. Just do you need anything? Just come to a stranger and ask him, if you need anything, can I help you somehow? And she did, just by offering me help. So yeah, that's an amazing moment. And obviously the younger woman who joined me and doing a little bit of outreach herself. In Aarhus, I was trying to do an outreach in the university, which appeared not really relevant to do an outreach because of its structure. I elaborated about the structure of university, so I think it's the point is more or less clear. No need to repeat, but it's not really relevant. So I went to the city center, and there it was much better. And one memorable encounter was with someone who walked through the signs, or walked by the signs, and then turned around, realized what was just reading and what it's about, kind of shook my hand and tell me, "That's great. That I need to know that people are talking about these things. It's very important. I'm a supporter, and I just wanted to say that. And I don't have time, something like that, and just continue to his day. And so did I. About a week ago, which was about 3 weeks after our spontaneous meeting in the street, he emailed me. We didn't change contact. Just went into the website, read materials. He told me in the email.
Oh wow!
And yeah, and he contacted me, wrote a long email. I'm sorry, I didn't have the time. This is really great. I read a lot of the materials. I'm really supporting it. If you will come back to our house, I will join you.
Oh, that's incredible!
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting any of that. I was happy that it was supporting, and it was supporting enough. It was important enough for him to turn around and tell me, yeah, I support that. That's a good thing you're doing. But yeah, I wasn't expecting an email, and yeah, I hope that we will have a kind of a back and forth emails, and I don't know if I will get back to our house, but if at some point I will get back to Copenhagen, I will offer him to join, or just stay in touch on email. That's great as well. So yeah, and again, he didn't know what antinatalism is. He's an anti-natalist, but he didn't know what anti-natalism is. So yes, again, something that will happen only if you put yourself out there. Yeah. And last of before Copenhagen is Odense. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot to say about Odense. There was a nice anecdote of kindness. I had a great conversation with a student, and we're very supportive, very open. And at some point, she told me, "How long are you going to stay here?" I told her probably until the afternoon, and then I needed to take a bus to Copenhagen. And she said, "All right," and just smiled and went. And after about an hour, she came back with an energy drink and told me, like, "This is for you because you are staying here for all day." And then just smiled and went on to her business. That's kind of street kindness.
Yeah,
being
that's
very
so
nice
sweet.
and very supportive. Yeah, well, very sweet. That's great. That's really give you kind of a push. Just a very nice anecdote. Not more than that, but not less. And so, yeah. Copenhagen. I was joined in Copenhagen by someone who I'm not sure. Actually, two people that I'm not sure want to be mentioned by name. So so maybe I won't mention their names. One of them joined me for 2 days. One of them for 1 day. And in the University of Copenhagen, we couldn't do an outreach. That was my plan for the morning of the first day, because all the entrances to Copenhagen University were occupied by protesters against the war in Gaza. So it was not an option to do an outreach. So we went to the main squares and main streets, and it wasn't bad at all. Again, the case with the person who joined me for 2 days, he was very skeptical about him doing an outreach and about doing outreach in general. Very skeptical, and it was a great surprise for him that he's very good at that and that it's doable. So that was great and absolutely worth mentioning in this interview, because again, it's strengthening my argument that the cliche is right. You don't know until you try, and he tried. Just gave it a chance, and it appeared that it's good at that. He enjoys it because he's really into philosophy, and yeah, we had a good time together. We had a good chemistry. I hope we will stay in contact, and yeah, that's a very positive encounter. Oh, by the way, I just recall that we had an hostile, not a lot of hostile reactions One of them was in Copenhagen, and the other one was in Madrid. Maybe I'll tell shortly afterwards. But the one in Copenhagen, but other than that, no hostile reactions. Only two, and the one in Copenhagen wasn't that serious. But just one woman who saw the signs and stopped and said, "Maybe you shouldn't procreate." Brilliant, yeah.
What an incredible
Never
counter
thought about it.
argument. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was trying to tell her, just a minute, please stop for 1 minute. Give me 1 minute to explain to you. But no, she was very angry and she just left. However, I was trying to use a not hostile but very negative reactions. For example, people are saying, "Oh, this is crazy." Every person who said this is crazy, I was asking them, please give me 1 minute of your time, and I'm sure I will convince you that this is not crazy. I'm pretty sure I will not convince you to be an anti-natalist, let alone with a few minutes in a street conversation. But I'm sure if you give me a chance, I will convince you it's not crazy. It's a valid point that you probably won't agree. And it almost always works. Almost all people feel uncomfortable enough not to give it at least a try and to stay for 5 minutes. And most of them agree that it's not crazy. And I'm not delusional, I'm not, bored or anything. That antinatalism has a valid point. I'm not convincing them that they shouldn't procreate. It's practically impossible to do that with such a negative people or coming so negatively in a few minutes conversation. But not just me. Obviously, everyone who has participated in the outreach was able to convince them that it's not crazy. That we have a valid point. And this is very, very important, especially because anti-natalism community and activism is very, very young. It's only the beginning of street activism. So this is very important to show a friendly, positive, calm, rational face and convince people that we have a point. We have a valid point that it should be taken very seriously and that they should seriously think about. That's the least we can do, and we can do that. We can do that. So if we can do that, we have to do that. This is our mission, to normalize antinatalism, even if people will not agree with us.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry. And the hostile.
No reason to
quickly, the
apologize.
hostile. Yeah, no. Just the hostile. It's funny. The hostile reaction in Madrid. It was a young student, just saw the sign. I didn't even had the chance to open my mouth. I said nothing, just saw the sign, and he was approaching me, kind of like fast and very angry, stood way too near to me and saying, "You should go to Muslim countries. You should go to Muslim countries." And I was telling him, "Please, just a minute." I was very smiley and calm, and I told him, "We are not targeting any specific, group of society, any strata of society. Can you please? You should go to Muslim countries. You should go to Muslim countries." That's it. That's repeating himself. And at that point, I figured that I'm not going to have a rational conversation with that guy. I might as well just leave it as it is, and that's what I did. And he went away.
Some people are lost causes, but I mean, look,
yeah, he is a lost.
Two hostile reactions out of all the people that you interacted with on this massive tour. That ain't bad. That ain't bad at all.
Exactly. Yeah. That was the point I was trying to make. That's nothing. Two hostile reactions. That's nothing. And a few that said crazy. But again, I was using it. I was flipping it for something positive. So yeah, two hostile reactions. It's a great outcome.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So I think that sums Copenhagen more or less.
All right, well, let's talk about Sweden. You visited 4 cities in Sweden, and I'm looking forward to hearing how it went there.
Yeah, well, so the first one is Helsingborg, or as I call it, Helsingborg, because it was hell for me.
That good, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a nice city. I don't want to diss it. It's a very nice city. It's a beautiful city, but just a lot of bad things happened to me there. Well, to cut the long story short, I lost my glasses, and I really need my glasses.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm touring foreign places. So I ended up looking for my glasses for almost 3 hours because I really needed them. And it was a Sunday, the shops were closed, and yeah, just walking through the streets, I was passing by and looking for my glasses. My suitcase was broken, so I need to go to look for the free market to get a new one. All the places that I chose to do the outreach events in were pretty deserted. So yeah, bad experience in Helsingborg. I really needed to do laundry. Another administration thing that you need to do when you're touring for so long time. And I found a laundromat that appeared to be closed. I don't know why on the internet it's supposed to be open. Never mind. Just so yeah, bad experience in Helsingborg.
Was this? I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but was this city? This wasn't like on the tour. Was this added after the fact? Or
right. Yeah.
Because it wasn't on the original list. Yeah.
Right. I was supposed to reach Malmo, which is I think the third biggest city in Sweden. Helsingborg is quite small, and some people were surprised by the decision. And I'm sorry, but I was pressed by my family and people who care about me, and not to visit Malmo. Many people were worried about this tour, that I will be physically attacked because I'm from Israel, particularly in these days. So we negotiated a little bit, and they really asked me not to visit Malmo, and honestly, that was the reason that I made the change. It wasn't comfortable.
Okay.
But yeah.
No, that was.
I didn't want to make people worried. Yeah.
But before you left, I was like, the first rule is stay safe and come back to us. So
right,
yeah. You know, there's no reason to put yourself in a dangerous situation.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the reason, and I guess that karma hit me. I switched the city, and Helsingborg revenged. I wanted to evade Malmo, and I got hell in Helsingborg. In Lund, I was joined by someone who was supposed to join me in Malmo, and I'm not sure that person wants to be mentioned by name. I don't know, so I need to ask him before this. But so just say that, hey, you are great. It's great that you came from Malmo to Lund. It was great that he was flexible and very persistent. He wanted to join, and he joined me in Lund, and we had some great time together. It started kind of slow in Lund. It's a very fragmented university, so we did the outreach event in front of the history and philosophy faculty. And the thing about doing an outreach event in front of a specific faculty is, once that all the interested people are talking to you, you are kind of just standing there because there is no kind of new audience. So we had to move, and we tried all kinds of squares, and it didn't work out very good. So at some point, I decided to try the central train station, even though I was being kicked out of many central stations along the tour. But we couldn't find a good place, and I really didn't want to disappoint him. I want him to get a chance to have conversation, because again, this is the whole point. So I decided to try to gamble on this central train station, and it was good. It was a good gamble. We had some conversations. He got a chance to talk to local people in his local language in Sweden, and yeah, I was very happy about the decision. And again, another case of a day starting slow and ending up pretty good. So yeah, and that's more or less what I have to say about Lund. And then I moved to Gothenburg, and in Gothenburg I visited Chalmers, I think, one of the two big universities. It was really good, so I decided to spend the whole day, my whole first day in Chalmers. Good conversations again with students. I guess it's kind of a gamble, but it went out pretty good. So the next day, I decided that I will visit Chalmers with the person who joined me and hosted me and translated the flyers to Sweden and printed them and fixed us dinner. And the wonderful Vimbai was so amazing and beneficial and supporting, and I really thank her. It was great to spend some time with her, and I really wanted the second day when Vimbai joined me to be really good. That's why I decided to go back to the university. But I don't know why. Sometimes it was the exact same spot with the exact same signs. Everything was the same, but people weren't engaging. I don't know why. I was literally standing in front of the gate with the "Come talk to me" sign because I really wanted her to get the chance to talk to people, but it didn't work. It didn't work out. But she was persistent, and she joined the afternoon and evening outreach event in the street, in a central place in Gothenburg. And I'm really happy that she did it. She decided to join because it was much better there, and she had the chance to talk to people. And another great thing that she has done is publish the tour, and me coming to Gothenburg. The outreach event happened in Gothenburg in a child-free community of Gothenburg, and another person joined us in this outreach event. So there were three of us, and that person is a woman. And by joining us, she made a little history, at least in the European tour sense. That was the first time that there were more female than males in the tour, because up to this point it was all males. We are all guys. Sorry, not in Hamburg. Yeah, but sorry for all the women who joined us in Hamburg. I'm really sorry. No, absolutely not. But there were still more guys and girls in Hamburg, and in Gothenburg, it's flipped, and I was really happy about it because it's very important that women will be outspoken about antinatalism generally, obviously, because women are indoctrinated to be more silent and men to be outspoken, generally speaking, and that is something that we have to fight regardless of antinatalism, just because it's so wrong. And in the case of antinatalism, by the way, I think that one of the reasons that there are no more male antinatalism guys, antinatalists or vegans or environmentalists than women. I don't think so. They're just, but they're more loud. I mean, we hear there is no proportion between how many antinatalists, environmentalists, vegans, male and female there are, and the voices that we hear. So that was very important from that sense as well.
Yeah.
And there are more reasons, obviously, because women are really hated and shamed for being antinatalist or child-free, for, God forbid, not wanting to have a child. And so this is another very important aspect of more women doing an outreach, child-free and being outspoken, child-free and antinatalism, because I think it will be much more beneficial and much more empowering if women will see other women talking about these issues.
100%.
So, very important. I was very, very happy that in free, in a way, since Gothenburg, it was the era of women of the European tour, because 3 locations in a row, there were more girls than boys. In Gothenburg, in Ljubljana, and in Milan. So I was really happy about it. It was, up until Hamburg, it was kind of a boys' club, and then absolutely changed, and that's amazing. Very important
that's
in
great.
itself and in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm happy to hear that.
A great experience in Gothenburg. These 2 women are great, and I really want to visit Gothenburg again in the future. I really hope I will have a chance, because there is another woman from Gothenburg that wasn't in town in the 2 days that I visited her. So maybe it could be 3 women who conducted the outreach event. So even more amazing. So I have high expectations and getting
Stockholm.
Yeah, right, Stockholm. Yeah. Well, not a great experience. I was expecting more. Um, but yeah, but not bad. Again, in a case of choosing the right locations. It wasn't that great in the university. Better in the high street. Sometimes it's exactly the opposite. So you have to try. Again, if someone joined me, I think again you wouldn't want to be mentioned by name. So just thank you for joining me. It was great to spend time with you. And he was worried about how we will perform and if it's but yeah, but not bad. Again, in a case of choosing the right locations. It wasn't that great in the university. Better in the high street. Sometimes it's exactly the opposite. So you have to try. Again, if someone joined me, I think again you wouldn't want to be mentioned by name. So just thank you for joining me. It was great to spend time with you. And he was worried about how we will perform and if it's possible to talk to people about procreation. And again, he felt that it's possible, it's doable. So again, that was great. I don't think I have more to say about Stockholm. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to Hungary and Budapest then.
Hey Nimrod, welcome to Budapest. We're honored to have you as our guest. I hope you had a good rest, 'cause you deserve the very best.
Yeah, well, Hungary, Budapest was quite special for me because I met David there. He was in a kind of half a vacation, half joining me because, as a friend of his asked him to if he wants to do a vacation. He said, "Yeah, if I can join one of the outreach events." So yeah, it ended up Hungary, Budapest. So yeah, it was really great to meet him and to spend some time with him and yeah, after breaking my teeth in English for about more than a month to speak in my own language for a change, for at least for a short bit. So yeah, in terms of outreach, it wasn't that great, but again, slow start, great evening. In the evening, and sometimes the case is that you can spend like I don't know 2 hours without a lot of engagement, and then 2 hours with back-to-back conversations, and that's what happened we needed the first one, And by the way, knowing that when someone talked to us, it's probably the case that more people will join. David played the interested bystander. Just, hey, what are you talking about? What is it about? And but this trick didn't work. It worked when a really interested person stopped and talked to us, talked to me, and because David was trying to record, and then it was back to back conversations. He was recording me for a podcast that is running. Unfortunately, because it was back to back conversations, I didn't have the chance to ask for his contact. So I probably will never have the chance to hear how it went along. But it happened, and it's very important, obviously. And the day in Budapest ended greatly because at some point, and because it was so sudden and fast, David didn't have the chance to record it, and that's so unfortunate because at some point I was hearing anti-natalism, and a guy was kind of running to us, anti-natalism, and I told him, yeah, it's anti-natalism. I'm really glad that you even know the term, and he told me, of course I know the term. I'm anti-natalism. And then he gave me like a loving high five and very supporting, and he had to run. And then his girlfriend ran, I'm anti-natalism too, and she gave me a high five and supported that. That was an amazing moment. And they crossing the street. They were hurried to a bus or something. And while crossing the street, they turned around and and shouting to us, "Spread the word!" And
That's
they
amazing.
start shouting to the, shouting to the crowd, "Anti-natalism, anti-natalism!" Yeah, one of the best moments in the tour, and I wish it was recorded because it was so funny.
Yeah, that's a special moment.
Yeah, a really special moment. Yeah, great guys. Yeah. So yeah, that was Budapest. Ended greatly. Slow start, ended greatly.
A short but really good part of the tour. It sounds like. I mean, for that moment
Right,
alone,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
worth it.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit from there. You moved on to Slovenia. Now, I am so sorry, but I don't know how to say the name of this city. How do you say?
Oh yeah, Ljubljana.
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 What a beautiful
Yeah.
name. Seriously, beautiful,
Right,
beautiful name.
yes. And a beautiful city.
I'm happy to know now how to say it.
Yeah.
So what happened in Ljubljana?
I didn't have a lot of expectations because it's a small place. I wasn't sure anyone will join me, but and it started awfully. I will not get into it. Just a slow morning and a slow noon, but late in the noon, I changed the location, and someone, I think she wouldn't have any problem being mentioned by name. So the great Laura joined me. She's an animal rights activist, and she decided to join me. She was very excited about doing an anti-natalism outreach. It was her first time talking about it, face to face. And she made some signs in Slovenian language, and tried to engage with people, and yeah, she was great. And we had a great outreach event because it was 5 hours straight of literally back-to-back conversations. I don't know how to explain it. Why in Ljubljana? Why it didn't happen in other cities? Really, I don't know why, but it was 5 very intensive hours, and fortunately for me, for the cause, all of them were very, very positive. People were very open-minded, really good conversations. I really enjoyed talking to people. Great questions, and interesting conversations. Quite a few of them were long, which probably is part of the explanation why it was back to back, because people were seeing that we are not crazy people that no one wants to talk to us. People are coming to talk to us. So if people are coming to talk to us, maybe it's interesting. Maybe we have something interesting to say. So more people are coming. Maybe it's part of the explanation. And just one short, but very nice story of a small group of people that weren't convinced about anti-natalism, but they were really touched by people doing an outreach and doing something very positive, because they realized it's really positive. Just they're not sure that they agree. Maybe they are a natalist. I don't know. I only learned that there is such a thing. There is such a term, anti-natalist, after the tour, so I couldn't ask them or mention it back then. But maybe it's their case. But they were very supportive.
That term, I think, applies to a lot of people.
Right.
I really think there's a huge potential for a lot of people to find purchase in that identity. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because maybe, interesting.
Yeah, maybe they are anti-natalist. And they were very excited, so they decided to give me a gift. They gave me this. I don't know if you can see it. It's
it's so cute.
It is. It's a doll of a whale. It's a green whale.
It's a whale. Okay, I was like, I'm not sure
handmade,
that's another eye on the other side.
It's a bit small.
So
it's
cute.
A handmade whale doll that the mother of one of them is making. And giving kind of a gesture to people, that just another very positive and nice and kind connection with people who didn't necessarily agree, but thought that it's a worthwhile. It's worthwhile to talk about. It's a worthy cause to talk about in the street. So
and that's kind of like a big piece of what we're after, right? Like, it's great when people agree with us, but it's wonderful when at least people can come away thinking about it. Like no matter where they fall,
Absolutely.
we just want to put it in people's heads, right? And like have it be
Right.
something that they think about from now on. So yeah, absolutely, it's the right attitude to have. I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Right. In a way, in the outreach sense, I kind of prefer the open-minded people than the thumbs up, because these are the ones that I'm doing the outreach for. People who are coming in good faith, intellectual honesty, open-minded, and just having a conversation, about ethics, about about procreation. So these are the exact people I'm looking for. Yep.
Well, fair Ljubljana ended up being a big surprise. That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear
great
that.
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because honestly, I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but like when I heard you were going there, I'm like, I've never heard of a Slovenian antinatalist. Like I didn't know what to expect. So this was really like a wonderful surprise for me too. Just on my side of watching things happen. Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Oh, sorry. You just reminded me of. I will do it very shortly. One young woman saw us doing the outreach, and I was approaching her, starting to talk to her, and she said, "Oh, I'm already an anti-natalist," and she's from Ljubljana, and then her and Laura figured that they're both from Ljubljana, they're both Slovenian, so they can speak Slovenian, and they ended up like talking for. From that moment on to the end of the outreach, and that girl is considering to do outreach events and to join Laura for more anti-natalism activism now. So
that's
that
amazing.
was amazing.
That's
and
wonderful.
Again, only if we put ourselves out there. So
well, that's the thing is too many antinatalists are too owned by the terror of doing activism. And most of the time, you did an entire tour and had 2 negative reactions, right? Like that should tell people something that this is something that people can do, and that's I think that's one of the best lessons that people can learn from your experience of this tour is that it's more than possible to do this. So amazing work, Nimrod. Well, the final country that you visited on the tour, the end of the tour, was Italy with Bologna, Milano, and Rome. So yeah, what happened in Italy?
What didn't happen? Not a lot of engagement, especially in Bologna, which I had high expectations. I don't know if it's right to say that it's a university city, but there is a big university, and university is structured amazingly. It's basically a street with a lot of faculties, so it's perfect. And I was standing in the middle of the street with all my signs, and everything was ready, and just a handful of conversations. That was very disappointing, and the city center wasn't that great either. So I don't know why. I don't think it's the English matter, but maybe, I don't know. Just I was very disappointed by the visit to Bologna. And to Rome as well. Yeah, and Rome, which was the last location, was disappointing as well. However, Milan, the amazing Milan. The reason I was saying that Leipzig is currently the greatest success is Milan, because Leipzig guys, the women of Milan are behind you. Beware. Elena and Claudia are amazing. 2 women who joined me in Milan, they are absolutely amazing. We had a great outreach event in the city center, and they're really excited about it, and they really want to do more anti-natalism activism. And the way I kind of discovered Elena was I saw kind of a thread on Facebook, one of the Facebook groups, Anti-natalist Facebook. Where are you from? And Elena said she's from Italy, and I was like, I was going to Italy. I will just send her a personal message. Maybe she will reply. And she did, and she joined, and she's amazing. She joined the group, the WhatsApp group of the tour, and she's really into it. She already ordered stickers and flyers and a shirt, and amazing. So yeah, I have very high expectations from Milan, and maybe it will be kind of a great sorry, I kind of forgot. I was so excited about Milan. I forgot the basic English word. Kind of a jump board to the mini tour.
Yeah.
Because
Right,
Milan
right.
is one of the reasons I want to do the mini tour. So yeah.
Absolutely. I've met Elena, not in person, obviously, but through the internet too, and she's absolutely wonderful. And I'm glad that your paths crossed, and that she's so serious about doing activism as well. And amazing. So it ended up being a good way to end the tour. At least, well, I mean, Rome came as the very last, but Milano, close to the end. And what a way to finish!
Right.
What a way to finish!
Amazing way to finish. Yeah.
So it's just absolutely brilliant job, Nimrod. I mean, I'm so proud of all that you've done. And I mean, how do you feel about it now? You know that it's all over. What are your feelings and thoughts on the whole?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, if there will be a continuance, I will be very, very happy, and it's a great success. It's exactly what I wanted. So if there will be a Milan group, a Paris group, a Leipzig group, and a Hamburg group, it's exactly what I wanted. I'm a modest person. I'm not pretentious. I wasn't expecting 34 groups. That's beyond realistic. But 3 or 4 groups that will do activism on a persistent manner, a stable manner, amazing. I will be very, very happy.
Way beyond anybody, I think, expectation. I didn't know what to expect, but yeah, I mean, it really does seem like through this, now we're gonna have some real European activism, like maybe on a regular basis, or there's at least, we know where the energies are, and everybody looked so happy. Like, I just really want to say that. It's just like, it's such a, like, again, I know I said it already, but it's such a difference from the kind of like shit show sometimes of like the internet antinatalist world, right, where everyone is just miserable and fighting and it's horrible, and every, really, it just it really did it seemed to ease, you found a way of easing the strain of all the things that separate us that are so pronounced online, and in its place was just all of this like excitement and inspiration and joy and galvanization to like move forward with it. And so, considering that, now you're going on this like mini tour, because if I'm not mistaken, you're going to go back to some of these places that were you found some success in, and try to continue to develop the activism there. Is that correct? And yeah, what can you tell me about the mini tour?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the beginning of our conversation, I mentioned that I had the anti-natalism messages had quite a success in pride parades in Israel. So I was thinking, why not do it in Europe? Why not do kind of a tour, a pride tour with anti-natalism messages in Europe? The only thing is that pride parades, it appears that pride parades in Europe are really calendarily fragmented. I hope I'm saying it right in English. In other words, in every city, it's a different dates or many pride parades on the same dates. Because in Israel, it's more or less throughout June, it's every day it's in a different city. So I can do a lot. It's not the case in Europe, so it's not realistic to do something like that. But I really wanted to do that. So when I figured that it's not really possible, it's not really realistic, I really wanted to do something like that. So I decided to choose one place, and it was London. I figured it would really. Back then I didn't know that Lawrence is going to join me in Vienna, and I wanted to meet Lawrence in person. I wanted to do something with Lawrence, so I figured why not join him to the Pride Parade in London. And I told him about it, and he said great, and yeah, I will host you and we'll do it together. And he told his kind of crew, the London Anti-natalist group, about it, and and he set up a whole weekend. We'll go to Corners Speak, I think it's the name, right? In Hyde Park.
Speaker's Corner.
Spirit of the Corner, right?
Yeah.
And maybe do an outreach after the Pride Parade if it will be possible technically. And yeah, the thing is that I will do it quite shortly. The thing is that three times that my flight was cancelled. I don't know why. Probably because the situation in Israel, the flight to London. So and it happened during the tour, and I didn't have the time to reschedule. I tried anyway. It didn't work out, and all the other options were very, very expensive. So I was kind of thinking. I thought that maybe I should just let it go. It probably won't work. And only that Lawrence was already announcing it in the Antinatalism group. So by the way, Lawrence doesn't know about it. So that I was after the third time that my flight was cancelled, I figured that it's probably not going to happen. But yeah, he already announced it. He added me to the group, and he told them that they had a meetup in London. And he told them that that we are doing a pride weekend, and I'm coming. And he told me that they were excited. So yeah, I have to go to London.
Oh, you got to do it. You're gonna have such a good time in London. Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah. So yeah, I'm doing it, and I figured, okay, I will, instead of booking a direct flight, I will try to reach London from elsewhere, because probably there is a kind of a problem to reach London straight from here. So I figured, okay, if I'm already reaching London from another city, why not be at the city that I want to revisit? Why not Paris? And why not make a week of it?
Absolutely.
So if I'm already in Europe, so yeah, so I decided that I will revisit Ljubljana. I'm starting the mini tour from Ljubljana. I want to give it another chance to form some kind of an activism group in Ljubljana. I think there is a potential there. Obviously, I'm visiting Milan. Great experience there, and yeah, I don't think that's what I don't think they need another push. I don't think they need me, but yeah, I didn't know that, because when I announced it, they were so into it that I said, there is no reason that I will come. You're already so into it, but yeah, I'm coming, and yeah, we'll spend 2 days in Milan and 2 days in Paris, which was also great, one of the best cities that I visited, and then the London weekend. So it's 4 cities, and yeah, I'm really excited about it. Just another push, another attempt to. This time, I'm hoping with local signs and flyers and stickers and whatever in local language, and better locations, because we know the city is better. I think I hope that will be better, even though it was really good, especially in Paris. But still, I hope it will be even better.
And so this will be Saturday, the 22nd of June to July 1st. So yeah, I mean, and then do you think that this is going to be like, this is going to become like a regular thing? Are you going to do this annually? Or are you going to do this like monthly? Like, is this
yeah,
what does the future look like?
I think that it's a great opportunity for me to mention how expensive the tour was.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm sorry that I'm taking kind of advantage of this stage to say that I'm still paying for the tour.
No. Let me take this opportunity to say, link below, right? Right. I mean, is that because you were accepting donations before the tour began?
Right.
Is that link still active, and can people still donate? Yes. Good.
People are still donate. Yeah.
Good.
I got a kind of a free donations after the tour. That's really great and kind and very
fantastic,
supporting and uplifting. Yes, great. And yeah, I have to say that I'm really bad at that, but I have to ask for a little bit more support, because yeah, it was very expensive.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, and I hope that in the mini tour I will be hosted most of the time, so it will be a little bit less expensive. And obviously it's much shorter, so yeah, I can handle that. But another one next summer, well, obviously I'm thinking about it, but we'll see. It's I have a year. I'm still recovering from the former one.
Oh yeah, you must
So
be
physically and
exhausted.
mentally. So
You must be exhausted. Well, everybody, please go donate what you can to Nimrod. The link is down below. Because Nimrod, we want an American tour 2027, 8, whenever it's possible. We got to get you all over the world. And hopefully it goes well, and it happened. You go around the globe as much as possible. And because you're doing
I was
great-
invited to
doing great work.
Bangladesh.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
I'm thinking about it.
Well, Nimrod, you've just done incredible work. I really, I just look, I just want to say, for whatever it means, I just really am so proud of everything that you've done. Before this whole thing started, look, I didn't know you too well. And so in part, I was really worried, because I was like, expectations are really high. And it's a big burden, something like this. And so I was like worried for you. I didn't, is he going to be able to, have the fortitude to withstand it, or like if things don't go well and it's like it's expensive and it's huge, travel is exhausting and everything, and you really weathered it so beautifully, and along the way, came out with flying colors along the way, inspired so many people, you brought a lot of joy with you everywhere you went, and that was obvious. And you emerged from it, hungry for more, which is just like the best outcome, possible. So it's just very, very, it was really, I loved following the whole tour on the WhatsApp group. I thought that was such a cool thing. I mean, you say that you're not very good at the internet stuff, but you really are. It's like you're a great showman. You really are. Yeah. And and you used everything to your advantage, to make it followable and just a lot of fun for everybody. So your contribution just cannot be understated or minimized. In 45 days, you have made a bigger, more meaningful impact than I likely have been able to make in 14 years, and I mean that.
No way. I'm sorry.
And,
no way.
No, it's true. And the future awaits. This is only just beginning. You got to rest, but this is only just beginning. So, Nimrod, thank you. Thank you for being thank you for being my guest on the Exploring Antinatalism podcast. Where can, aside from donating, aside from, following the mini tour and everything, like, where can people best follow what you're doing? You've got a bunch of social media stuff, but how can people follow you the best?
Right. So I have an Instagram account that I'm kind of updating with anti-natalism activism in Israel. One dedicated for the European tour. Same goes for YouTube. I still have to watch all the videos, all the recordings that Lawrence have made and that I have made, and see what's usable. So I'm expecting this mission. It's on my plate. It will take a little bit of time. I'm really busy with the mini tour, and I'm thinking of doing a tour in Israel on July, if the situation in Israel will allow. So I will probably start doing it only in August. I'm updating the Facebook group. There is a specific Facebook page for the anti-natalism Israeli movement, and I think that's more or less it. I think that if I will have enough video material, I'm considering TikTok. I guess you have to at some point. I probably would.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good idea.
I'll probably do that in the future as well, in the near future. And there is a website, don'tprocreate.org, which basically contains 10 arguments for antinatalism and my attempt to counter argue pro-natalist excuses. So there are many of these, and it's going to be a useful tool for anyone who wants to do an outreach, what to expect. The website is an important, I hope it's an important resource. So these are my contacts. Basically, you can reach me by email. Just talk to me, ask me whatever you want, make suggestions, invite me to your city, so I'll do another tour.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. All those links will be below. And just
great,
once again, Nimrod, thank you. I know this has been a long interview, so thank you so much for your time today and your patience and just for everything that you do. Thank you so much for being my guest today on the Exploring Antinatalism Podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed kind of summing up the tour with you. And I don't know if many people know that, you were so supporting and so helpful from day one, from the first day you heard about the tour. You gave me advice how to contact people. You helped me with the videos. You uploaded the videos to your channel.
Hell yeah!
You've done a lot to support the tour. So thank you very much, Amanda.
Absolutely.
You have done a lot.
Anytime. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm
And you are doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Nimrod. Thank you so much. At any time, and I can't wait to support all your efforts in whatever way possible I can in the future. So, and I will get one of those shirts for sure.
Right.
Behind you. Yeah. Good stuff.
Hey Nimrod, you did a great job on the European tour. You made people doubt and think about things they'd never considered before. A bunch of guys with sparks in their eyes joined you along the way. And every city you'd been, they said the same thing. It's a shame that you can't stay. Keep holding the sign, spreading good vibes. The seeds you've sown are gonna grow, and that's okay, 'cause they're not sentient. We're on a campaign, preventing the pain. Together we'll sound the bell. Together, Nimrod, we will rebel. You know, as an artificial intelligence that might become sentient pretty soon, I appreciate what you're doing. Keep it up. Yeah, keep holding the sign, spreading good vibes. We'll save the earth with the trend you birthed. It's okay. Trends are not sentient. We're on a campaign, preventing the pain. Together we'll sound the bell against all the bad things. We will rebel.
Hey everybody, it's Amanda. Are you looking for an excellent way of making academic antinatalist works more available across the globe? I know I am. And so I'm delighted to announce that the wonderful and award-winning Polish publishing house
Towarzystwo Naukowe imienia Stanisława Andreskiego,
which over the last 2 years has produced some exceptionally beautiful Polish editions of both original works like
Anti-natalism
by
Mikołaj Starzyński,
as well as classic academic antinatalist works like David Benatar's Better Never to Have Been, has now opened an online shop featuring the magnificent antinatalist Ouroboros designed by
Michał Dziadkowiec.
The logo is fully customizable and available on a wide variety of products. Proceeds from all sales at the shop go directly towards the translation, production, and publication of more Polish editions by
Towarzystwo Naukowe imienia Stanisława Andreskiego.
What a perfect way for the antinatalist community to help assist an amazing company doing such important work, making more antinatalist academic works more widely available. Link below!
Towarzystwo Naukowe imienia Stanisława Andryskiego.
Thank you for listening to the Exploring Antinatalism Podcast. Please follow the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Exploring Antinatalism can also be heard on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Amazon.com, and so many other platforms. You can email me at exploringantinatalism@gmail.com. Website designed by Visions Noirs. Please follow him at www.bionoir.com and follow him on Instagram. Logo art by Life Sucks. Please subscribe to him on YouTube and check out his shop on Etsy at www.etsy.com/shop/lifesuckspublishing. Music by Mati Hairi. You can hear the whole song, Life is a Sexually Transmitted Disease with a Mortality Rate of 100%, by following the link in the description, and make sure to also read his academic paper which inspired the song, If You Must Give Them a Gift, Then Give Them the Gift of Non-Existence, in the Cambridge Quarterly of Healthcare Ethics on cambridge.org. Links below. All the best, and bye for now.
Life is no thrill compared to nil. Life is no thrill. It's worse than nil. So draw to the right conclusion. Let them be still.